Hello, I'm Marsh from StrataGames, and today we are playing some Dimir Faeries. This is going to be traditional Dimir Faeries, no sneaky snackers, modern ages, anything like that. This is a list that I've been playing. List has changed a little bit, but pretty similar to the list I've been playing for a couple of years. It's pretty much the oldest. It's one of the oldest decks that I've been playing in the format because it's very fun. It's one of probably my favorite control deck. I played a lot of Golgari Gardens early in my Pauper career as well. But this is the one that I still really enjoy. I have in paper, and I play quite a bit there as well. So we're going to be playing Dimir Faeries, which means that we have Spellstutter Sprites and Fairy Seers to be able to set up the top of our deck and then counter our opponent's creatures with Spellstutter Sprite, of course. If you're playing Fairies, generally you want to be playing Ninjas as well. Dimir Faeries, as opposed to Mono Blue Fairies, which is seen a lot more often, is a full control deck. So we are not a tempo deck or aggro deck or whatever you want to call Mono Blue Fairies. We're just a control deck, which means we have a lot more removal. Of course, the black is primarily for our hard removal spells. But that also means we have very few ninjas. We only play 3 Ninja of the Deep Hours and no Moon Circuit Hackers. That's because we want to get as much value out of each creature as possible. So the Moon Circuit Hackers are great. They're cheaper, and they only draw 1 card the first time, and then they loot after that. We want to be drawing a card every single time we hit, using our removal to clear the way, so that we're able to continue stocking our hand with the Ninja. So 3 Ninjas, 4 Spellstutter, 3 Fairies here. We also have a couple Augur of Bolas, which is kind of a necessary evil for this deck. If you've seen a lot of my videos, you may know that I allude to the fact that I hate Augur of Bolas quite a bit, and that's because I feel like I whiff with it far more often than I should. But it's a very good card in the deck. It's an early blocker. Since we are a control deck, we definitely want that against the faster decks. It's a creature that has a nice ETB to pick back up with the Ninja, and of course it just helps us stock our hand with various control pieces. It could be removal spells. We're playing 4 Snuff Outs, probably the only deck in the format right now. In the format, not a lot of people are playing this list, but one of the few decks that's still running a whole bunch of Snuff Outs, which I think are pretty good in the meta right now. There's a lot of creature combo with like elves and spy walls and things like that going around, which Snuff Out's great for. There's a ton of terror. Snuff Out's great for that. And just generally, it's a pretty good card. We also have Cast Down, which is 2 mana instead of 0 mana, but it also doesn't lose its life, and it can kill everything, whereas Snuff Out cannot kill black creatures, which can be very relevant against your Gurmag Anglers, your Refurbished Familiars, things like that. Speaking of, we are playing a couple Gurmag Anglers in here. This list is very similar to Barf's list. Barf is one of the premier Fairies pilots in general in the format, but especially Dimir Faeries. And so I'm not playing his exact list because he's playing 2 Bojuka Bogs. That's kind of more than I felt was necessary, so I'm just doing the 1, and I have an extra swamp instead. I kind of like the untapped land, but I am doing 2 Gurmag Anglers because of that, and we also have some slight differences in our sideboards as well. Of course, we're a blue-based deck, but a control deck especially, so we have Lorien Revealed, which is going to pull out our islands or, of course, our contaminated aquifers. We just have a playset of the aquifer so that we can pull them out with Lorien, and then also so that we can use Snuff Out for free. So having, 7 swamp sources with the landscape plus the Lorients, so 11 ways to cast our Snuff Outs. It feels pretty good here. A 1 of Murmuring Mystic. It's just a 1 of, but when you find it, this card can just, of course, single-handedly win the game. We know that from any deck that you've ever seen with a Murmuring Mystic. It can absolutely just take over the game if it doesn't get killed right away. We also have a couple of Thorn of the Black Rose. Monarch can be very good, especially with all of our removal. Can be a liability, so this is something we might side out against decks that have a high number of creatures, and especially evasive creatures like flyers and things like that. 1 Behold the Multiverse. This is something from Barf's list that I was not playing, but I'm interested to try it out because drawing 2 cards and scrying 2 is very powerful. The fact that you can foretell it, basically, it doesn't really matter. They're going to know, like the face down portion doesn't really matter. They're going to know that we're probably playing a Behold the Multiverse. But just the fact that it is... Sorry, I'm pulling something up here. Just the fact that you can break up the payments, right? You can make it 2 mana and then 2 mana again later. Can be really, really strong. Then, of course, we're a blue control deck, so we have counter spells. We have 4 of those, and then we have 1 of Spell Pierce, 1 of Dispel. You could probably go 2 Dispel or 2 Spell Pierce, but having the variety is nice. Sometimes if you get both Spell Pierces trapped in your hand, and they're not playing a lot of, spells that you can counter unless they pay 2. Maybe they have a lot of mana or whatever. It's nice to kind of have the variety. But of course, if you have 2 dispels and they cast like an artifact or something you want to counter, it's nice to have that too. We also have a bunch of cantrips, 3 brainstorms, 3 preordains, to be able to find our various cards and shuffle away the ones that we don't need. Brainstorm, of course, combos with our shufflers, Lorien Revealed, and Seething Landscape being the main ones. Just 1 landscape. I almost put in a second one for the brainstorms, but we're only playing 3 brainstorm, not 4, so it doesn't feel as necessary. But of course, it'll be very good when we have those. Then for our sideboard, one of the main things that I did that Barf did not have was I put a couple of nulls in here, or rather I already had a couple of nulls when I was changing my list over, and I just kept them. He had taken them all out, but I feel like generally in my experience, any affinity deck, seeing as we're blue-black, the 2 colors worst at getting rid of artifacts, can be a bit of a tough matchup for us, so I wanted to keep them in. We have 5 Hydroblast or Blue Elemental Blast effects. Yes, technically it'd be better to have 4 Hydroblasts and then 1 Blue Elemental Blast because of our Remembering Mystic. We could cast them even if we didn't have a target, but Hydroblast is expensive, and this is what I have right now. An extra ninja in the sideboard, Okiba Gang Shinobi, can take our opponent's hand if they have 2 cards, but one of my favorite cards for sure, but doesn't really need to be in our main deck. It can be a nice sideboard card against any control or combo deck, generally. Great against High Tide or Tron or anything like that. Crypt Incursion, pretty good and important, I would say, for the spy decks that are running around. Unexpected Fangs is mostly only good on a Kagurmag Angler, which is why there were 2 in the sideboard. I really just feel like 1 is really all that's necessary. Of course, you could throw it on a Spellstutter Sprite or an Augur or a Ninja or whatever. Gain a little bit of life, which against a red deck can be pretty good, but Gurmag's really the only one that it's super powerful on. 2 Arms of Hadar to clear the board. Extract a Confession. Honestly, just one of my favorite sideboard cards, and maybe even main deck cards is Extract. Great against Bogles, of course, but also just nice against your Terrors and things like that. Hello, Ben. How's it going? Thanks for popping in. And then, of course, a couple of Relics of Progenitus. More Graveyard Hate to take our opponent off their graveyard shenanigans. So that is the list, and let's take it into Elite. What have you been up to, Ben? Playing any good Pauper recently at locals or MTGO or anything? Getting to Raven's Crime, everybody, that you sit against? Yeah, I like this list quite a bit. Fairies is always a fun one for me. I definitely have a better handle on Dimir Faeries than my stream title is wrong as always. Better handle on Dimir Faeries than Mono Blue Fairies is a lot tougher for me. I was going to play last weekend, but didn't get around to it. Yeah, I gotcha. I have been, of course, jamming Esper, Cryoblade, every single local event that I've gone to for the past month. I'm sure people are getting sick of it by now, and I don't like to be too predictable, so I'll probably need to start playing some of my other decks, some more Black Sack or John Wildfire or something, but I just can't get enough right now. How's the deck feeling? Well, to be honest, I haven't played this deck in a couple of months, probably. So I don't know. We'll see. But I know that Barf got a trophy with this list, or very similar to this list, less than a week ago. Somebody else got a trophy with this list. So it's very traditional. Dimir Faeries, a little bit outdated, some might say, but I think it's just a solid list that as long as you have the removal and everything tuned to your meta, I think can always put up some decent results. Oh, for the Cryoblade. No worries. Yeah, deck's feeling incredible. One of the shops that I go to has a little bit more newer players and things like that, so I try not to obviously put too much stock in, winning those matches. But I've been playing some pretty decent opponents at my other place, and some of them come to the other store too. But I'm currently 10-0 with Cryoblade in paper, and that feels crazy, which is why I have not made a lot of changes to the list recently. I've played it online, I've gotten 1 trophy, I've gotten a lot of 4-1s. This hand is unfortunately not a keep because, it's unfortunate because we have good mana, we have nice removal, but 2 ninjas is just not anything. This is a lot better just because we have the 1 Spellstutter Sprite. And let's see, we're on the play. We'll start with Aquifer, then Island. Kind of want to get rid of this Bog, but it's got to be Bog or Landscape, I think. There's a lot of graveyard stuff going around, though. I guess we don't need the Landscape, really. All right, we'll just play this. But yeah, so I haven't changed the list too much, the Cryoblade list, because not only did I get a trophy with it, and it's been feeling very good on MTGO, but then a lot of other people have taken very similar lists and been doing very well with it. I feel like Black Sack, I started from a point where there was a lot of potential, but the list was not amazing by any means. And so it evolved over the course of months and months, and eventually we got to the lists that we have today that I think are really strong. But Cryogen, which is obviously not a deck being built from scratch, right? I took Orzhov Glintblade and adapted it, but that list has felt very solid from very early on, so I'm pretty happy with it. And obviously I'll keep making some minor tweaks. Looks like we're against Is It Control. Some minor tweaks, but I don't know. Everything's been feeling really solid so far. Okay, I think we just spell stutter here. It shows them what we're on, but they're already going to have an idea of that. Then we get the ninja down. They probably can't do anything about it. And then we start drawing some cards. We kind of force them to do something. Since they don't have red right now, can't imagine they can remove this. So at least we get our card. Yes, we'll draw. And then we want to hold the bog for, because they are going to have terrors. So we want to hold it a little bit longer. Also, I would love to have a Spell Pierce up here. But yeah, looks like they're just going to Scred, obviously playing around the Spell Pierce, which is nice. Fiddling around with changing the idea of that deck from Esper to Mardu, swapping out the relic to either Synth or Moxite, then going Demand Answers, trying Mardu, Devotee, and Krark. Yeah, I mean, I think that is a solid list. I think, I don't necessarily think that's, I'm trying to word this in a nice way. It doesn't seem like as new. Mardu's been around for a while with like Synth, right? Mardu Synth has been around for a while. I guess if you're trying to say like keep affinity so you have your Mirror Enforcements and things like that, that is kind of interesting and different. And Mardu Devotee, I know there was a lot of talk about, but then people didn't keep playing it. But I think it seems solid too. I think we can get, I don't know if this is greedy, but get a little greedy here if you want to say that, and we can just snuff that out in Thorn here. We can take the Monarch. If they Monarch us back, well, now we have the cast down for if they do that. Yeah, no, I think that sounds solid for sure. I think the Relic is like the best card in the deck, honestly, so that's why I wanted it to be Esper. But I think Mardu could definitely do some sweet stuff. They have a Miscreant here. They're missing their land drop, which is great for us. When it's control versus control, lands are super important. Plus we get a Fairy Seer down here. Then what if they spell stutter? Because they're fairies. I thought they were terror. I guess Augur usually is not in terror as much anymore. So if I Miscreant, or if I Seer and they spell stutter, I lose my Seer. That's kind of annoying. I'm trying to figure out what to do here, because if I just Seer and they spell stutter, then I can cast down or spell stutter, but that doesn't actually kill, that doesn't prevent them from taking the Monarch. So I might just leave up spell stutter and cast down here. Then if I flash and spell stutter to block the Fairy Seer, and they spell stutter mine, I could cast down their spell stutter. If they just counterspell, then I can cast down. Yeah, I don't want to cast anything on this turn when they could flash in a spell stutter sprite, I think, because I'd like it to come on their turn so that they can't actually attack with both. I could Seer and Spell Pierce. Yeah, but I'm worried about Spell Stutter, so Spell Pierce isn't going to do anything about that. And then if they untap and Scred my Fairy Seer, I could try to Spell Stutter it, but yeah, if they just Spell Stutter my Seer, then they have two guys and I can't do anything about it. I think I like just passing here a little bit better. Yeah, Relic's super good, but Krark, no, I understand. Krark is obviously also crazy good. Okay, so here I can Spell Stutter Sprite. If they counter spell or spell stutter back, I can just cast this down. If they have a Spell Pierce, it's kind of bad. I could just cast down, but then if they have a spell stutter sprite, I can't do anything about it. I guess if I spell stutter and they Scred, I could cast down and then they have the spell stutter, and that doesn't work either. They're still at least tapped out, and I can get them again with the Thorn. I think this might be better. I don't know. Kind of a tough spot. Yeah. So if they don't have a Spell Pierce or a Dispel, this works pretty nicely for me. If they do, it's not great. Yeah, they had it. So they take the Monarch. I guess they can chump with the Spell Stutter now. I mean, I guess I get a Lorien revealed off. That's not the worst thing ever. They might just pass it back, to be honest. No, they don't. If I Lorien, I mean, I have to Lorien. Yeah, my only alternative is playing a 1-drop, so I'm definitely drawing 3 here, which is pretty good. I mean, I kind of wanted an island for this Fairy Seer, because now they get to Scred the Thorn and I can't take the Monarch back. The fact that they're fairies and not terror when I put the Monarch down is definitely unfortunate and not what I was expecting. And they have a ninja. I was not expecting the fairies almost mirror right away. They have to discard. I mean, with a bunch of Loriens, we're not super falling behind with value, although we have to be paying 5 mana to draw our cards. I could Brainstorm first, Fairy Seer those away. It's either that or I just slam another Lorien, which while they're tapped out isn't terrible. I guess we just do that. Keep drawing cards. Snuff out kills this. Okay, yeah. So we will Brainstorm. Another Snuff Out's good. Gurmag's decent too. Don't really need these lands. Put these on the bottom, and while they're tapped out, we'll snuff out the Ninja, though I'm not expecting this Fairies here to survive. A few really cool Izzet and Jeskai decks out there. Fairy Miscreant, dig this version of Fairies. Yeah, I definitely like Izzet Fairies. There's somebody at our locals who's been playing Izzet Fairies for several years. It's always pretty cool to see. Let's see, I could just preordain, but if I preordain and they have a spell stutter, it's kind of annoying. I could snuff out the Miscreant, they're probably gonna have something for this, but I have Spell Pierce and Spell Stutter. We're losing a lot of life to our snuff outs, which means we could just die to Bolt. Can I afford to snuff this out? There are 7 cards in hand. Kind of risky, but I think we're gonna go for it. See if they got anything for that. Bolt, Fairies here in response. So I can Spell Stutter. Then if they have a Spell Stutter, they can catch mine. They have a counter spell. Okay, but then I get to... Wait, why did I let that go? That was super dumb. I was like, oh, then I'll Spell Pierce the Lightning Bolt. I could have counterspelled... I could have Spell Pierced the counterspell and then gotten my Fairies here too. So that was very stupid. However, we do get the Monarch back and kill their creature, so we're in a pretty good spot, but obviously I did not need to lose that Spell Stutter Sprite. Don't need another land. I don't really think I need another Thorn. Maybe that's greedy, but I'm gonna hold. The only thing we have that cares about our graveyard is more Gurmags, so I don't really need to preserve our graveyard too much. I'd rather bluff a counterspell or even draw a counterspell potentially, and I want to hold that land. Now I would have played it, but I want to hold a land for another Brainstorm potentially. All right, have a good time, Ben. There's a Skred with only 4 lands. They did not sack their landscape first, so our Gurmag survives. I'm quite confident that was a mistake, but hey, we made a pretty big mistake last turn, so, you know, we lost a 1/1 we should have had. Now we have a 5/5 that we shouldn't have, and they have the Brainstorm, so yeah, they should have Brainstormed first, then landscaped. I guess they have an Augur, fair enough. But now they're also going to be tapped out, so we get to Lorien again. The fact, yeah, they said they meant to crack the landscape first. The fact that they've been missing land drops for a few turns was really beneficial, because that turn where they couldn't pay for the Spell Pierce was massive, and if they could have, we would have been in a bad spot. They could still absolutely win this if we just die to a couple bolts. We're going to try to not let that happen. Counterspell's a nice way to do that. Although I really want to attack with this Gurmag, but it almost feels like I can't. I also want to get this Ninja down, but it almost feels like I have to just hold this counterspell. I think I need to play a little conservative this time. I could just chump with the Fairies here, although it dies to a lot more. They've already used 2 Skreds. We are a control deck. We don't need to go super aggro here. I think we just attack for 1 and hold up a counterspell. Maybe don't even need to attack. We get a 4th Lorien we might cast this game, which is pretty cool. They have a Miscreant. We're going to let that go. And... yeah, and we don't need the counterspell, which is totally fine. Now we have Augur, Ninja. Well, I could Augur now, but I could actually attack with the Fairies here. If they don't block, I can Ninja it back. Then I can replay it, scry to set up our Augur. That all feels pretty good. And if they block and trade, then they just lose their flying attacker, which I'm cool with too. Also, if they remove this Ninja, not a big deal. We do get to draw, though. Brainstorm's not bad. We're going to Fairies here first. We do have a counterspell if they have a spell stutter here, which looks like they do, but they have a counterspell. However, we have the Dispel, and the fact that we win this counter war is very good for us. We also get a counterspell on top, which we can get with this Augur. Actually, we're going to hold it. I could play the Augur, but then I actually can't use the counterspell this turn, whereas I draw it off the Monarch, not to mention I could Brainstorm into it. So if they do have a removal spell for the Fairy to try to get in with the Miscreants, we can counterspell them. All right. Yeah, I think that game was very dependent on them missing those land drops early. We could bring in Blasts. Of course, they're much heavier blue, but their red spells are pretty relevant, being able to remove our blockers for the Monarch, which we both probably will have some Monarch creatures, not to mention... blockers for ninjas, things like that. Arms of Vidar is something I would bring in against mono blue Fairies, because they go a lot wider, but both Izzet and Dimir are more control decks, so I don't think that there's really a reason to do that. It's unlikely we're going to have more than, 2 or 3 creatures on the board, some of which might be Augurs or Murmuring Mystics or whatever. We really don't have much of a sideboard then. We could bring in Okiba Gang Shinobi, which isn't bad if we're able to connect with it ever, but they do have a lot of removal, probably 4 Skreds, 4 Bolts, so paying 4 mana to bring back our guy, if it's a spell stutter, not bad, or Augur, any of those is good, but also then to just have it bolted is not amazing. But I do think some number of these is probably decent. Spell Pierce and Dispel are both really good. Cast Down and Snuff Out are both really good. Everything in our main deck is really good, though. We could cut Thorns, but to be honest, I think the game's likely to play out like it just did, which is that we have some cheaper and harder removal, so we can kind of win some of those battles. Not to mention, if we cut these and they keep their monarchs in, then having a way to not having a way to take it without having to attack can be kind of bad. They are going to get red blasts though, which is a really big boon for them against us. So maybe we want to bring in a couple of these for that reason. Still feels like these are really good though. Just really don't know what to cut. I guess Augur gets blocked by their Augurs. Yep, that's it. I don't know. We'll bring in one Hydroblast, I guess. I don't really know. Feels like our main deck's pretty well set up against them, but who knows? This is a pretty decent 6-card hand. I guess just the Gurmag goes away because it's not coming down till later. They have a Fjord. We're just going to get down our Seer to set up Spell Stutter and or Ninja. I kind of like both of these. We're going to set it up so that Augur can come down and grab that counterspell. They just bolt the Seer, not super surprised about that. And they have a Landscape. So Augur is definitely going to hit because we know about that counterspell, which is nice. Plus, again, if we draw a Ninja here, we have something to attack with, assuming it doesn't die right away. They have another Landscape. Not super relevant unless they actually have the a Brainstorm or something. They have an Augur and they get a Red Blast. Yep, a little better than our counterspell. I could just cycle Lorien for black land so I can get a cast down going, but then I'm not holding up counterspell. So I think we're just preordaining and probably holding this up. Ooh, okay. I like cast down, and I don't know if I need swamp really, just because we can already get it off the Lorien. This kind of lets us play the Lorien. Yeah, I guess we can keep both of these. We are going to hold up counterspell this turn though, which might be wrong. Actually, I maybe should have just gotten the swamp and cast down this right away, because then they couldn't Ninja. Whereas here, if they go Red Blast and I counterspell and then they bolt the Augur, they can get in, but that doesn't happen. Okay. Do I want to cycle this Lorien? We know there's a swamp on top. No, I don't think so. I think we can just play this. Now we have counterspell and cast down, and that's fine. They Brainstorm. If I had a Spell Stutter, I might go for that, but of course they also would anticipate that, probably with a Red Blast and maybe even a Dispel as well. But I'm certainly not just counterspelling a Brainstorm. That doesn't seem necessary. Then again, it is going to set up their hand very nicely with that Landscape, I'm sure. I could try to like cast down the Augur here when they're tapped slightly lower, because then they have to have like Dispel and Red Elemental Blast, but I don't really want to like fight over this Augur until it's like turning into a Ninja or something. Now they have a Fairy Seer. I'll let that go. That's something I might cast down at the end step though. Keep both on top with a Fairy Miscreant. Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to take out one of these. I guess we'll get the Seer. I don't really know which one's better. That's fine. Another counterspell's not bad. If I want to kill this Miscreant, I should just do it in the upkeep, which I do. If they have a Spell Stutter for that, then it's not great. I just really want to keep a Ninja off the field. So I think this is okay. A little aggressive, but they're a Fairies deck. Yeah. So not great. I can counterspell this, but then they have the Red Blast for it. It's probably worth it anyway. Tap them out a little bit more. This is why we're doing it on their upkeep. Not only are we tapping them out on their own turn, but the Spell Setter now can't attack. But this is when I would love to have a Snuff Out to finish, to win that interaction still. But now if they have the Ninja, they get to bounce the Fairy Miscreant, which doesn't have a relevant ETB right now, so it's not the end of the world for that reason. But just a Ninja is, yep, pretty strong. Ooh, they're playing Hackers. Okay, so they have a Miscreant in hand. That's all we know. And this might be a time where we just tap out for Lorien. Yeah, it's either that or we just hold up Counterspell. But I think we're slamming this, kind of hoping we hit like a Snuff Out or something. We get an Island, a Ninja of our own that's not looking too good. And they have the Monarch, which we did not hold up a counterspell for. If we had our Hydroblast, that would work, but otherwise, pretty rough for us. We can potentially get another Lorien through. Now they have counterspell mana, but only 2 cards. Spellstutter's a good draw, so I could foretell Behold the Multiverse and then hold up counterspell and Spellstutter. That does a decent job of trying to take the Monarch next turn. Yeah, if we didn't get that Spellstutter, I think we'd be priced into just casting the Lorien because we don't have a lot else going on. But now that we have something to do with all of our mana, I think we just try to do that. If they attack with their fairies again, we can get a Spellstutter down, ideally countering like a cantrip or whatever, and then protect it with a counterspell. We can pick it back up with a Ninja, take the Monarch. We have a pretty tough time keeping the Monarch right now, but still seems okay. They're just going straight to combat. Yeah, swinging for a bunch. Problem is this Crimson Fleet's going to kill us pretty quick here, but I think we just got to take it. flash in a Spell Stutter, and I could cast Behold the Multiverse, but then we're going shields down, which feels unwise. I think they might want us to do that. I don't know. I mean, we could take the Monarch, well, we can get the Ninja down. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna try. So if this goes through, we'll draw a card, plus take the Monarch. Even if they try to kill it, now we have a Spell Stutter to counter the first bolt. So that's fine. Snuff Out is getting kind of tough to use, but something to kill this Crimson Fleet would be pretty good. I think we're gonna Preordain. If they want to Spell Stutter that, could. Counterspell and Lorien do not help us here. Another Ninja doesn't really help us either. We're gonna cycle a Lorien. We don't have anything to do with this mana anyway right now, so might as well have more mana for next turn if we're still alive. Scred the Augur. I mean, we gotta just Spell Stutter. I mean, I could Counterspell, but yeah, either way, it's not gonna get through, and we take more than 9. We are dead. Yeah, the turn that we tapped out, or tapped low, getting the Crimson Fleet through was pretty devastating. And that is a time where Arms of Hadar would have been pretty good. They did go wider than I thought they would. Plus it gets Crimson Fleet. Maybe it's worth bringing in one. We'll give it a try. Also, if you haven't seen it, we have, I put up a Black Sack Mulligan guide video today. So if you've been wondering how to mulligan with Black Sack, which is a pretty difficult thing, I think, go ahead and give that a try. Go ahead and check that out, I guess. Alright, game 3 here. We have another no-lander. This hand is extremely reactive, which is not really where we want to be on the play, but I also don't want to be on 5 cards, so I think we're going to keep it. Get rid of this swamp. Like, these are all good cards. It's just, we would much prefer to have other cards against them. I could just cast this down. I don't think we're going to do that. I guess if they get a Ninja, and it's like a Moon Circuit Hacker, plus they, I don't know. Yeah, if it's just a Ninja, the Deep Hours, we're going to cast that down. And I'm okay with that, because they didn't even get a relevant ETB, which is one of the best parts of the Ninja. That exchange I'm okay with. We're hitting land drops, which I'm not complaining about either, but we have 2 very situational counterspells, neither of which is going to hit an Augur of Bolas, or whatever they got coming down. Just a miscreant. Well, we're going to hold this Lorien, because if I get another land, I might just want to hard cast it. Oh, Thorn to the Black Rose. So I could cast that, get 1 draw, they take the Monarch, they bolt our Thorn, we lose the game. So let's not do that, but pretty annoying draw there for that reason. Also, we don't have another removal spell for another Ninja. We also don't have that 5th land to ensure a Lorien revealed next turn. They're going to Seer, scry 1 to the top. Might be missing a land drop here, though. I'm not going to be able to get this Thorn down anytime soon. Even if I get a land drop, they might have a Red Blast for the Lorien, but I think probably just go for it. Oh my gosh. So I can hardcast a Ninja, which is better than hardcasting a Thorn. Then it just dies, so it doesn't really matter. At least it eats a Bolt or whatever. Yeah. I feel like we might need this Lorien draw 3 pretty badly, so I really don't want to use it yet. But if I had used it last turn, then this turn I could at least hold up a Dispel or a Hydroblast to protect the Ninja for a turn. Then missing land drops could be pretty relevant for us. So if I could have kept that alive, it could have been pretty good. Now, of course, they're going to hit lands because they scryed, but things are not going great. To be fair, we kept a hand that was not great, but we've also drawn cards that were specifically very bad. Counterspell's okay. Is it time to cycle Lorien? Yeah, I think so. With all these counter spells in hand and things like that, tapping out feels kind of dumb, because then they land their Monarch or whatever, and we just lose, which wasn't a concern when they were stuck on 2 lands, but obviously is now. We could also just lose to these guys, but I can't really do anything about it at the moment. Snuff Out helps minorly, I suppose. I can shoot one of these. I cycle a Lorien. I guess we're going to shoot this Fairy Seer right now to just lessen the amount of damage we have. Plus, theoretically, if they continue not doing much else and we can find another removal spell for this Miscreant, then we could get the Thorn down potentially, which could bring us back into this game because we're definitely falling behind at the moment. They attack for just the 1. Augur's a pretty good draw. If they have... Sorry, I feel like I got something in my eye. If they have a Spell Stutter Sprite, I can counterspell, and then if they have a Red Blast or something, I can Dispel or Hydro. So we'll definitely play this Augur. Pretty reasonable draw. Plus, if it can find a cast down or something, this could really be the start of us getting Thorn down. They do have the Spell Stutter. We have the Counterspell. If they have the Red Blast, then we have the Hydro Blast. And I am going to go for that over the Dispel, I think, because Dispel has more applications. And that's why Augur sucks. I mean, it put away 2 lands I didn't care to draw and a Ninja, which would be okay. So like that's not the worst, but it's not, this time it was just a 1-3, which is so brutal. Like if that getting us a card could be the difference between us winning and losing here, because not having, like, if I got a snuff out, I would have used it right away on this miscreant probably. Whereas since we don't, like, it might still be a little gutsy for them to slam a Crimson Fleet Commodore here, because if I do have the removal spell, I kill that and then they have to chump here. But if they just decide to do it while I'm tapped out, unless we top deck that snuff out or cast down, we're kind of in a bad spot. Oh, and there is exactly what they were contemplating. And yeah, now I just hope that I get it. Snuff out off the top would be incredible. Counterspell's too late. Well, the Monarch is already on the board, so I guess we play our Thorn of the Black Rose. Since there, you know, it's not holding off the Monarch from happening. Regardless, to hold it, I might as well. Now, if they attack, I could at least trade here, which isn't great, because then if they have the removal spell for one of these, yeah, they also might just bolt this. We do have a Dispel. I think I gotta go for it. Obviously, this gets countered to a Spell Stutter or any counterspell at all. But if I can keep this around, now they're tapped out of red. So if they attack with this, I can double block. And unless they have, like, brought in a bounce spell or something, I can prevent that from dealing damage and trade one of our guys for it. Then we have a Fairy Miscreant. There's their Augur, which I bet isn't going to whiff for them. Oh, look, a Brainstorm. They are going to swing. I mean, I'm going to block. So we keep the Monarch. They Brainstorm, looking to see if they find like another Augur or some other creature they want to get down right away. They just pass. Cast down's not bad. So I could cast down the Fairy Miscreant. And if they have a counterspell, then I counterspell. But then if they can kill the Augur, they get through anyway. But I might as well do it now when they have less mana, I think. So we're going to do it. That worked. Well, we're going to play this island just in case we top deck another 2-drop. This Monarch, like another counter spell, or Spell Stutter's great. Okay, maybe we have a shot here. We're gonna Spell Stutter the Skred, and that works. Okay, hell yes. Okay, we're taking this game back. Another Spell Stutter is great. We'll attack and we'll pass. I also realize ooh, that's not a bad draw either. Oh, I can foretell this during our turn, right? I probably could have done it during your turn. It doesn't have to be sorcery speed, so I could have done it right there at the end step. They have another Skred, but we have another Spell Stutter, and they have a Moon-Circuit Hacker that they're going to cast. I'm fine with that. We're going to just cast this. We don't need a swamp. I will take an Augur. More blockers is good. Gurmag is great. Play an Augur. Augur whiffs, because Augur sucks. We're going to play a Gurmag, and we're going to swing with our flyers. And a Fairy Seer. I mean, we're in an incredible position now. We will counterspell a Lorien, I think. I'm not worried about their last red mana now, and just holding them off some value is pretty good, I think. Another Gurmag's pretty good. I'll keep a Lorien, and we'll swing with our flyers and our giant guy. We'll play another giant guy. Again, we have no other reason our graveyard matters, so I'm happy to tap and leave up mana, bluffing that our top card is relevant here. But they're going to have a pretty tough time getting out of this, I think. And they give us the GGs. That was definitely a good game. I thought we were falling behind for sure, but what was it? When they had the Crimson Fleet, the fact that we had held the Thorn, obviously playing the Thorn was a mistake earlier regardless, but the fact that we had the Thorn to take the Monarch to force them to attack us, and then we had 2 1/3 blockers, and what, they bolted or something? Yeah, they bolted and we had the Dispel. That was it. They bolted to kill one of our guys. We had the Dispel, which saved our guy, which made it so they had to lose their 5/2, a great attacker. That, I think, won us the game. Pretty sweet first match here. Not, Is It Fairies? Not one you see every day. And definitely a fun kind of mirror where we get to kind of see the intricacies of and strengths and weaknesses of both decks. Like, their Monarch creature is way more aggressive, which was able to kill us the game 2. So that's pretty nice. But ours is is also good defensive, right? It survives a little bit better, and we've got Death Touch and all that stuff. We are against a pass. They are a Walls player. Hey, it's Jonah. Hey, Jonah, how's it going? Been watching while doing a traffic account for work, so I can't type in chat very much at all. I had to say average Augur experience. Yeah, Augur blocking and not much else. Good play, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Yes, I hate Augur because its ETB is not always very effective, but honestly, it just being a 1/3 was pretty good there, so not the worst. But glad you were able to pop in for a second here. I kind of just kept this hand, not thinking about it, not thinking about the fact that we're going to be against Walls. It's not a bad hand against Walls because we have Cast Down. Spell Pierce probably not going to be super relevant. Bajuka Bog, just the fact that we have 2 lands is not bad here. But the fact that they're both tapped is kind of annoying. The fact that we don't have double blue is kind of annoying. I'm just going to leave up Spell Pierce on the off chance they Winding Way here or something. And then I might Brainstorm at the end step. Quirion Ranger. Can't do anything about that. Utopia Sprawl. Well, I don't know how much value this Spell Pierce is going to get. We might as well just use it while we can. Oh my gosh, I never expected the concession off a Spell Pierce Utopia Sprawl, but they also mulliganed to 5. I mean, I get that they were in a tough spot, and probably very reliant on that mana. I think we should have a pretty good match here against Walls. We have, Epas is always doing some interesting things. Like, I'm very confident it's Walls because we saw Caretaker and I know who they are, but the Utopia Sprawl is interesting and different. Crystal Grotto's interesting and different. But yeah, I'm sure it's still the primary combo that they're going for. None of these are very good sideboard cards for us. I guess Okiba Gang could be okay, but we do just have like Monarch, which they can't take probably. We have a lot of removal. Spell Pierce did do work there. I don't really think Spell Pierce or Dispel are worth keeping in general. Dispel especially, I'm not sure what it's going to counter. Maybe we'll keep Spell Pierce in just for the, like, an early Utopia Sprawl could be good, or a Winding Way, or Lead the Stampede. It loses value very quickly, but I'm just not seeing anything else that looks amazing here. Like, Arms of Ador eats a Quirion Ranger, that's about it. Maybe the one that, Orochi Leaf Caller, that's it, that filters mana from green. Crypt Incursion could be good against a Reaping the Graves, but like most of these are very situational that Spell Pierce might be okay. I mean, probably just like an Extract Confession as a removal spell is probably better, but I don't know. We'll see. And if they don't go to 5, we could see how this turns out. Sand is no removal, which obviously we really want, and they keep 7, but we have a lot of scries to find it. I don't think we're shipping this one. Arbor Elf. Okay, makes sense since they have the Utopia Sprawl. I guess we're just doing Fairy Seer here. Preordain to draw a card this turn doesn't matter because even if it's a Snuff Out, we don't have the Swamp yet. And this makes our Spell Setter sprite better next turn. We do get the Snuff Out, which we're obviously keeping. So next turn we can Swamp, hold up Spell Setter and Snuff Out, which is pretty good. Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to incorporate the Gruul ramp package into Walls, which I think is kind of interesting. Generous Ant, Wild Growth, and then they can play a 2-drop. Beast Rider Vanguard. This is a pretty common, well, not super common, but not super uncommon outlet for their combo. So I think we probably just kill the Arbor Elf. Then they only have 3 mana. We can't do anything if they play a 3-drop, but if they play like a 2-drop, then we can Spell Setter it. I think just keeping them off mana is probably pretty good. I'm not too worried about the Vanguard. If they infinite with it, we're going to die regardless. Well, not if they don't have another outlet, but like I think that's something we're trying to prevent anyway. Thermokarst, interesting. I was not expecting, so it's like Walls Ponza. I'd hope it's a common. Yeah, fair enough. You got me good. Yeah, they definitely just blow up my land. Really was not expecting. So it's Ponza Walls. I don't think we need to cycle this Lorien yet. Definitely not having 2 blue here is annoying because I can't like Fairy Seer and Preordain. I guess like if they just Thermokarst us again, Spell Setter is useless, but obviously doing something else is not useless. I think we'll just play a Fairy Seer here. Snuff Out is good. Another Seer is fine. That speeds up our clock. I don't really need to kill this guy, at least not for a while. Let's see. Yeah, they do just blow it up. Okay, so I'm glad I used the mana there. And I'm definitely going to draw this Snuff Out. We have another Seer on top. I mean, this will kill us eventually. I could just leave these back to block. I don't think we're doing that this turn. I think now I have a Spell Setter for 3. So I think we're just going to pass. And if they do have like a 3rd Thermokarst or whatever, or an Axebane Guardian or anything like that, Quirion's pretty good too. I'll just counter it. Maybe because we have the Snuff Out, we should just hold that for that guy, but I think this is okay. And we have another Fairy Seer on top. Do I want that? Yeah, seems fine. I think we'll Preordain first. Another Snuff Out. Gurmag Angler. Gurmag's going to be pretty cheap. Yeah, let's get the Snuff Out. Maybe I should have taken the Gurmag, because I want to cycle this Lorien. That's fine. We'll just cycle this now. Get an island. Play a Fairy Seer. Okiba Gang. Probably not relevant, but we'll keep the land for sure. We might as well keep the Okiba. And seeing as we are dying to this, I think I will just snuff it out. And then they're very behind on their Walls plan, which I assume it still is. Yeah, there's an Axebane Guardian, but we have the Snuff Out for that as well. We'll go to 2, which is probably fine, right? I don't need to snuff this out right now. Usually I would, but they have no other defenders. And there might be like, I don't know, a reach guy or something I'd rather kill. I think we'll just leave it for now. See if I regret that. And another Axebane Guardian. Well, I don't want 2 of those running around, so we'll do this. I just realized my Overlay is not working for some reason, and they concede. So we're able to get that match. Definitely a tough one for them in general. And I don't know if this is definitely some sort of experimental deck. I don't know if they've tested enough that maybe it is pretty solid and just a bad matchup, or if they're like very early in the stages of testing it. So we'll get into another one here, and I will try to fix this bot here. That's not right. Huh. Might just be down right now or something. It's giving that weird message. Well, we are currently 2-0, but appears to not be working. All right, well, we're going into match 3 here, and we have a beautiful opening hand. We have both our colors plus double blue. We have a reactive and a proactive 2-drop. We have a ninja. Another spell stutter's not bad. Of course, we need some more lands as well. And we're against High Tide, which is interesting. Feels like it's probably a fine matchup for us because we have a lot of counter spells. Obviously, our snuff outs are dead, and just the fact that we have a bit of a slow start here. Like, could they go off right next turn? Maybe. Feels like if they reach through mist on turn 1, they probably are a little bit far away from it. If they don't play anything this turn, then I could flash in a spell stutter. I think we might. There's not really a lot we gain from putting down an Augur Bolas, so I think we'll just hold up the spell stutter. Obviously, if they try to go for it, we have a counter spell. I think with the counter spell, or if they just brainstorm, we'll counter that too. Any value we can get is going to be pretty nice. I want to put the spell stutter down regardless. And I don't think they're going to be able to go off having cast the brainstorm already. So definitely going to just take that. Now they preordain. Scry 2 to the top. Natural Island is kind of nice. I'm not going to ninja, obviously, because we're going to hold up a counterspell. So I'm guessing I'm going to preordain for more counterspells. And Island. Yeah, we'll keep both of those on top. And if they go for it here, we can counter the High Tide, which we will. And if they can get us through that, well, can't do anything about it. But them being down 1 mana could put them to where they don't want to use it, but they go for it. There's a High Tide and a Hidden Strings, and another High Tide. 2 cards left, but Ideas Unbound and Puppetry are those cards. I think they got to get a little lucky, but those were definitely the best 2 cards to have left. Play an Island. They are playing Flood of Recollection, which I feel like a lot of lists have gone away from, because then they are more susceptible to graveyard hate, but looking pretty good here. Reach through Mists. I mean, I think we had a pretty solid start against them with the double spell stutter, but looks like they might be able to get us here. Gonna be very exciting watching this live, I'm sure. It's my favorite thing to do, is to watch my opponent play High Tide. And if this wasn't, live, usually this is what I would be cutting out of the video. They take Ideas Unbound and Peer Through Depths. Cast Peer for Hidden Strings. Another Ideas Unbound, or rather the one that we already saw. I mean, I would say they look pretty solidly like they're gonna win this one. That said, I've also watched my opponents combo off for 15 minutes and then concede. How's it going? Well, I'm getting high-tided at the moment, so not exceptional. But other than that, pretty good. How are you doing? Just playing some Dimir Faeries here. They take a Merchant Scroll and a Puppetry. So they got 2 Puppetries now. Merchant Scroll finds probably just another High Tide at this point. And they got to Peer Through Depths. Was going to play Food Pestilence tomorrow, but now you posted that mulligan guide for Black Sack, so I don't know anymore. Yeah, I mean, Food Pestilence sounds pretty sweet too, but I'm never going to tell you not to play Black Sack if that's something that you want to practice more now with the mulligan knowledge, stuff like that. Ideas Unbound, they brainstorm, they cast some spells, you know how it goes. Yeah, they did keep a 7-card hand, but threw 2 counter spells. And one of them, like, if I had the mana, I wouldn't have thrown out a sprite just on a brainstorm. But obviously I was using it when I could, and I feel like it was probably right to do so. I mean, it's their turn 4 through 2 counterspells, and they're going off, which is, kind of impressive. Kind of annoying, too. You know how it goes. Merchant Scroll. I'm going to assume... Oh, look at that. Look how well I played that game where I won it. Like, that was all skill from my end, being able to win that game. It's just amazing. Where do you stand on High Tide ban? Good question. I don't think it needs to get banned. I don't anticipate it will get banned. I would personally be happy if it did. I don't think it's a fun deck. Truly, I don't think it's a fun deck for really either player, but obviously even if they're having fun, who am I to say that they're not? But it doesn't seem the most interesting deck even to pilot. It's no fun for the other player in any circumstance. Even if you enjoy playing High Tide, you do not enjoy playing against it. I feel like that's almost always true. So all of that I think is true. But I don't think it's a powerful enough deck to warrant a ban, frankly. It's... I did counterspell them twice. For all I know, that did hold them off. And they felt forced to go for it a little bit earlier than they probably would have wanted to otherwise. But like they did all of that and then I ended up winning the game. So I don't think it's too powerful. It certainly wins against Jund and a lot of these decks that don't have a lot of answers to it. Like Jund has a sideboard full of Duresses and Pyroblasts to help, but main deck, it's almost always going to lose because it does not have a clock that's fast enough to win by turn 4 or 5, which is generally when High Tide is winning. And main deck, it doesn't have any disruption for spells on the stack and in the hand, unless you are main decking Duresses and things. But Jund is also a very good deck against almost everybody else. So as much as I love Jund, it's not the end of the world if it has a couple bad matchups. Not a fan of non-interactive decks. Yes, I agree with that. I need a sideboard here real quick. Removal is pretty irrelevant. I guess we'll keep the Snuffouts in, maybe, because this could deal damage. They do sometimes bring in Murmuring Mystics. A Null doesn't hit anything. This doesn't hit anything. So yeah, on the off chance they bring in Murmuring Mystics, we'll keep in the Snuffouts. Or if we get a Murmuring Mystic, we could snuff out our own thing for a trigger, I guess. These have some applications, so we'll bring those in. I'm not a fan of non-interactive decks. So if cards that I didn't like, and decks that I didn't like would get banned, then High Tide would get banned, Tron would get banned, every Storm deck would get banned, Cycle Storm, things like that. I'm not a fan of any of those. But I also understand that banning things based on my preference or the preference of an individual or even a large number of people, but where not everyone agrees with them, is probably not always the best idea. This hand is kind of incredible as a counter to High Tide because we have 3 counter spells, one of which is a 2-drop. This counters High Tide or just about anything else. Destroy the Moon. Tides are bad. Destroy the Moon. Sorry, I don't know if that's a reference. I don't know if there's a card that I'm not thinking about. But yeah, I don't think it's bannable. Feel honored to watch such a skillful game. I appreciate that you are honored. I really do my best to bring the best content for everyone. Peer Through Depths, I could dispel that, but I kind of want to hold up Spell Stutter for this turn, and then next turn I can Spell Stutter Dispel. So if I could Spell Stutter this, I would. But in fact, I probably will throw out a Spell Stutter if they don't cast anything here, just so that my next Spell Stutter counters a 2-drop. Maybe, I don't know. Deep Analysis. Okay, I'm fine with that. Merchant Scroll. That's fine. So I will say, I don't think we need any bans at the moment. I don't think there's any card or deck that is currently too oppressive. I think I'll actually leave this after all. Most of the relevant things are 1 or 2, and if they try to go off next turn with High Tide, I can Spell Stutter and Dispel, and then if they definitely won't be able to go off through that, then the following turn I can have a Sprite, which I kind of like a little bit better, but we're just going to obviously keep draw going here. Reach Through Mists. I could counterspell that with a Spell Stutter. That doesn't seem necessary. Oh, just joking about real life tides. I gotcha. Yes, yeah. Destroy the Moon, and we will, maybe Gru is onto something. Just steal the Moon, and then we don't have to deal with this. They Deep Analysis. That's fine. Okay, we can Brainstorm. What's not relevant here? We're not going to be playing this Augur ever, pretty much. We're going to be holding up Spell Stutters, so I don't think I need that. And Relic is decent against Flood of Recollection, so maybe I just don't need this extra Lorien. And then we're going to cycle Lorien for another island. Okiba Gang Shinobi. So next turn, I'm going to flash in a Spell Stutter no matter what, and we're going to Okiba them. Well, probably. Not no matter what, because then we're only holding up a Dispel for the next turn, but taking 2 cards from them is going to be really good. They do Flood of Recollection. Yeah, I should have maybe put the Relic on the board, but that's fine. Not to mention they have the Deep Analysis. Cycle Lorien. I hate High Tide TV. I'd love a ban too, but also think the deck is not good enough to be banned. Yeah, definitely where I'm at with it. So I want to get a Spell Stutter down regardless because of this Okiba. So I could double Spell Stutter here, and then we pick one up. Then next turn, if we do Okiba, we hit him for 2 cards. Then we have a Dispel for the first High Tide. That feels pretty good, actually. This could be a mistake. Maybe it's better to just hold up all of my counter spells. But the fact that we take him off that... Ooh, I could just Ninja. Then I have Spell Stutter Dispel. Ninja of the Deep Hours instead of Okiba. I love Okiba, but I actually think that might be better in this case. Holding up 2 counter spells, plus we're drawing cards. They're going to feel some pressure to go for it, and with 2 counter spells, I feel like we're going to be able to stop them pretty well. There's the High Tide. Let's Spell Stutter. They know about the Spell Stutter. If they don't get a High Tide off, they're not going to be able to go for it, so I think I'm good doing this, and then if they have another one, I can Dispel that. They cycle a Lorien. Debating if I should play Dimir Faeries or Dimir Terror for Pauper Knight tonight at my LGS. Can't counter pieces of the puzzle. Also, they used this Deep Analysis before. Yeah, I mean that's very much up to you. Personally, Fairies is one of my top 5 favorite decks, and I'm really not a big fan of Dimir Terror. I love Mono Blue Terror, and I feel like Dimir is just that but much worse. And if you like it, go for it. But if you're asking my opinion, I would definitely say Fairies. They have 6 cards in hand. What did they take from this? Puppetry and Peer Through Depths. So I could Okiba them now, and then we hold up a Spell Stutter again. Again, we're tapping out of the Dispel. Like, we don't have both of them. So it might be better to... Oh, but we only have 1 counter spell if we don't do anything. Let's preordain. Well, if I preordain... Yeah, let's just start with the preordain. We don't need a Fangs. That was brought in just because it was mildly relevant. Counterspell's great. Okay, so now we can put down a Relic. That stops another Flood of Recollection. I could just pop it to get rid of this Deep Analysis. That doesn't seem hugely relevant. But then again, I guess if they're gonna flood... Yeah, let's pop this. We're taking away a bunch of things they can Flood of Recollection anyway. Plus, we still hold up our Counterspell and our Dispel. Plus, if we're going to start Okiba-ing, Shinobiing them, then every card matters. I mean, I think we're in a very good spot for them, against them here. There's a High Tide. Let's Dispel. Cycle a Lorien, and they have another Lorien, which I'm going to Counterspell because then we can Okiba them, and they'll be gone. They need Giga Drowse, and it's GG. Yeah, Giga Drowse would definitely be pretty bad for us, but I think at this point, putting them to 2 cards in hand and buying back a Counterspell, I think we're going to be able to get them. Yeah, and they concede right there, losing. I mean, we have them dead next turn with the Spell Stutter in hand, plus they're just going down to 2 cards. I can't imagine they could win from there. Snuff Out's kind of pet card for me, so that's why I played Dimir. No, totally fair. Snuff Out's great. I'm a big fan. I do like that you can play it in Fairies as well. But yeah, I mean, I think if you want to do Terror, go ahead and do Terror. I definitely like... Unexpected Fangs is a bit of a pet card for me, and so a deck where you can play that main deck is one of my favorites. So I definitely love being able to throw that on a Gurmag or a Terror or a Serpent and just gaining 6 or 7 life. I am a huge fan of that. Best thing about Pauper is that pet decks can thrive 100%. I've always been of 2 minds about Magic in general that are somewhat conflicting, which is that I'm a very competitive person. I would like to play optimally. I would like to learn how to play optimally, learn the ins and outs of a deck, do everything right, and win, because I think that's very fun. But I'm also a brewer. I, in general, like to build my own decks. Of course, sometimes it's fun to play really cool decks that other people have built. Pretty much every Jund Wildfire list that I play is just whatever Walker735 is playing, because I prefer... I know he makes a very good deck, and I'd prefer to spend my time brewing other decks. But yeah, so I very much like brewing my own decks. But then most formats, you cannot do both of those things very well. I do like Commander. I'm a bit of a Commander player, and so that's a great outlet for brewing. And I do like CEDH fine, but it's not my favorite way to get a competitive outlet going. So Standard was always... okay. Depending on the era of Standard, you could maybe brew something and do decent with it, especially at locals. But Pauper is definitely the place that I've found that you can just play whatever you want, and as long as you're willing, you can do a janky idea, and as long as you're willing to put good cards in your deck, you can probably do fine. Now, if you want to brew a deck from scratch and not use any meta cards, unlikely to do well with that. But as long as you're willing to include good cards as well as your pet strategy, I think it's very fun. So this is a very risky one because we could Brainstorm Lock ourselves, but we do have 2 Brainstorms. Then we get to Augur, maybe Cast Down. They're mulliganing to 6. This is not a keepable hand, I don't think. Of course, we have the classic, if you mulligan a mediocre 7, although I would say that's a little more than mediocre, you get an unplayable 6. But seeing as we're a control deck, spending your first 2 or 3 or 4, however long it would have taken turns to hit your land drops at the minimum, not really where you want to be at all. So I guess we just do this. I keep the Lorien in case I get flooded, slash if I get a Brainstorm. And Preordain's not bad. Of course, we have this tap land, so we're not going to play it for a couple turns. Looks like we're against Dimir. Could be Grixis, Affinity, Cryogen Relic. I'm going to guess Dimir, just based off of the cards they've played. We're certainly just leaving up Counterspell and stuff. I do have a couple of nulls in the sideboard for Affinity. There's a Refurb. We're definitely just going to counter that. We're already low on cards, plus it blocks our flyers. Okay, it is Grixis. They got a Thoughtcast. Island is good. That lets us preordain plus spell stutter. I'm not really in the business of getting rid of lands or counter spells at the moment, so we're going to keep both of those. And what are we counterspelling? I mean, we've cast down for the first, like Mirror Enforcer or something. Relic is just a draw to. What's the worst that they could do if I counterspell this? Refurb and some Enforcers, but I can cast down an Enforcer. I can't counter a Refurb. If I use a counterspell here, I can't regardless. I mean, they're not a deck that revolves around Relic like Esper does, but it's still just good value. I don't really know if that's the best counterspell, but we also don't want to not use our mana here. They're going for a draw 3, which is fine. I countered a draw 2. They used another draw 2. Not the end of the world. We are behind because of that mulligan, and then obviously them drawing some extra cards, but, Refurb's pretty bad. I can't spell stutter it, and I guess we'll get rid of Lorien. I kind of need Lorien, like, really badly. Like, my best draw here is probably untap to land into Lorien so that I can next turn do something. So I think we're getting rid of this spell stutter sprite. Maybe just the cast down, but it also felt like, okay, well, that's really bad. Yeah, like casting one of these down doesn't matter. We pretty much have to, I think, get this draw 3 off to be doing anything relevant, be able to stay in this game at all. Playing an island, interesting. Spell bomb, there's an Enforcer, any more? And a Gearseeker Serpent. Okay, I would argue that this is it's turn 5, but I think this might be an above average affinity draw, and we get a ninja. I'm good to say we're dead there. If we hit the untapped land and we were able to draw 3, maybe we could have gotten something for the next turn. If we had a snuff out, we can kill this. We take 8. Maybe we get some flyers down, etc. But they wrecked us pretty good there. We do get a null. With Gearseeker Serpent especially, Extract seems okay. They're going to have Blood Fountains, so Relics could be decent. I kind of like Okiba versus them too. They don't play a ton of removal, right? It's usually like 3 to 4. Well, it's usually 4 Galvanics and maybe a couple cast downs, but sometimes they don't even run cast down. Galvanic, munitions, and they're going to have red blasts. Quarks I don't really care about. Definitely feels like we want 2 or 3 blue blasts. Snuff Out's not super effective against them. I guess with Serpents, it might be a little more relevant than usual. If it's usually just Mirror Enforcers, it's like not amazing. Plus they also have Refurbs, which obviously it doesn't hit, but Gearseeker Serpent, maybe I keep 1 in. Thorn feels like a way we can win for sure. Again, in a general affinity deck, they don't have a lot of threats, but Serpent changes things a little bit. Also, it means they could have like Black Mage's Rod. They could always play a Kenku or 2. Spell Pierce is good. Dispel's good. Definitely still want some removal. We haven't seen Murmuring Mystic a single time. I would love to see that at some point. Maybe Extract isn't necessary. We do just have cast downs. Gurmag's pretty good because it blocks Enforcers. Augur, chump blocks, but that's about it. I guess we'll cut the last Snuff out too. We do have the cast downs. I don't know. Welcome back, Ben. We're here against Grixis Affinity at the moment. This hand looks solid. We do find our Mystic finally. Let's try to find... I don't hate lands, but it also doesn't feel like what we need right now. Brainstorm doesn't feel super effective without a Shuffle or an Augur. It's good after the Mystic, but that's a few turns away. I think we're going to get rid of it. Cast down. How's it been going? Pretty well. My overlay that's supposed to show our record is not working at the moment for some reason. But we are 3-0, which is pretty good. Played against Walls, High Tide, and... Is it Fairies so far? Yeah, things are going pretty decently. Don't think there's any reason to just send off this Brainstorm yet. If things go slowly, we can just hold it until after Mystic and start getting some birds. We're going to counterspell just about anything they play here, I think. Like, I'd probably counterspell a Relic or a Ichor Wellspring even. Didn't realize you had a Murmuring Mystic in there. Yeah, well, this is the first time we've seen it all day. And it's just a one-of, to be fair. But yes, since we are very much a control deck, having one of them can be just phenomenal at overtaking the game, and I think going to be pretty good here probably. Munitions, that's a good one to counterspell. We are a Fairies deck. We are a control deck, so it's less like Munitions just wrecks mono blue Fairies. It doesn't quite wreck us quite as much, but it still makes spell stutter sprites pretty much irrelevant. It's a good one to get through. Yeah, no need to Brainstorm here. Aquifer's nice. I mean, we can't cast down or anything here, so our turn looks like we're just doing nothing here, but we can at least Murmuring Mystic Brainstorm next turn, or maybe I can just slam down a Gurmag Angler. 5 toughness is crazy, yeah. Every time I'm against it, I'm like, oh, it's a little annoying. Every time I'm against it, I'm usually playing like a Galvanic Blast deck or something, and I'm like, oh, I have to use 2 spells to kill it. It's crazy. That's a little late. I did think about brainstorming to find a counterspell, but we do just have a cast down. Or I could just Murmuring Mystic here, and then we have a brainstorm to make a blocker. They could have a red blast. Feels like they left that up intentionally. So I kind of don't want to yet. I think I'd rather hold up, wait until we have a counterspell for this. They only have one creature, so if they want to Blood Fountain this back, I think that's fine. We'll obviously do it when they're tapped out, so they can't draw 2 by sacking it, and we'll counterspell. I mean, counterspelling a creature here is a little awkward because then they can get their Blood Fountain going, but I kind of like counterspelling a draw 2. I mean, that means we're not doing the Mystic. We're not protecting the Mystic. Mystic's pretty good. We do have to hit a land if I want to do that. So I need to decide. If I want to go for Mystic counterspell, I should probably brainstorm here, see if we're even hitting the land. And then also if I get like another counterspell, I can counter this. Or I could just counter this and then slam the Mystic next turn. I could also just counter this, put down a Gurmag next turn, force them to start using that. I kind of don't want them to draw. I think that sounds pretty good to me. If they have to start using things on the Angler. Okay, so they did have the Pyro, and we're tapping them out of it anyway this way. So mission accomplished. I think they could have a Great Furnace here and another one, but we are looking like we might be able to get the Mystic down and make at least one bird. Yeah, they got a tap land, and we draw a Swamp. All right, well, we're gonna play a Mystic, and we're gonna brainstorm, see if we get like a Preordain or something that we can make another bird off of, or even just like a Fairy Seer to play down. Yeah, Spell Pierce is not bad. I guess I have to decide if I want to Spell Pierce here, or I could put down a Fairy Seer so that I can Ninja next turn. Mystic's fully unprotected, but if they have the removal spell for it anyway, Spell Pierce isn't going to stop it. It's just going to make one more bird, and I'd rather return the Fairy Seer with the Ninja. So yeah, let's put back Gurmag and Spell Pierce. I'm not going to be able to cast either of them, and this way, if they like duress us or something, then we don't have a card to be gotten. I guess Spell Pierce probably isn't relevant enough that I could just get rid of it actually at this point. Gurmag still seems pretty good though. And now if they just Pyro this, that's fine. We got a bird out of it. Maybe not the best thing ever, but they got an Enforcer, another Enforcer. Only one card left though. We have a Gurmag, plus we have this Ninja. So we'll swing. And if they have a removal spell that they use on the Ninja, then the Gurmag sticks, which is pretty good. And they do. Well, it's not going to hit the Gurmag regardless. They do 3 of their Pyroblasts. Lucky. Well, we get to Fairy Seer, set up Brainstorm Seer. Seems solid enough. Sure, let's keep those. And we're tapped out, so we might as well preserve some graveyard for another Gurmag. But we have a blocker now. If they want to just run one of these into this to get in for 4 and then buy back their 2 cards, I can live with that. They draw a Seed of the Synod, and they don't. We'll brainstorm. We know we at least are hitting a Fairy Seer, if not something else. Lorien Revealed is even better, because then I can just fully draw those cards while they're tapped out. And by tapped out, I mean have no cards in hand. And we'll swing. Obviously, we're not going to trade this while they're just going to buy back the stuff with the Blood Fountain. They don't have anything going on, so they might just get this Gearseeker Serpent anyway. They don't. They're not under a ton of pressure, so I think that's fair. But yeah, it looks like they're deciding, maybe they have a Galvanic Blast, but maybe they are deciding that they'd rather just buy back these both and get their 4 damage. They do have the Galvanic. All right, pretty good trade for them then. We have a cast down for the Serpent. They're going to have, they can cast them both. So 2 mana for the Serpent, 2 mana for the Ninja. We have 2 more mana to do something with. Blue Blast is not super relevant. Okay, I think we're chumping with this bird token now. I guess we'll, in case we draw another cast down, we'll hold up double black. Draw a card. Augur's decent as a chump blocker. I could just play that. I'm playing it blindly though. I could just play a couple Fairy Seers, or, well, we'll play 1 Fairy Seer. See what we're working with. A Null's not bad. Yeah. Although if we put that on top, next turn we can scry again. Yeah, we'll get rid of the island. We'll keep it on null. We'll cast down the Serpent now. And we'll hold up the Blue Blast just on the off chance they get a red spell that's relevant. I'd rather not get gotten by it. They don't attack. That's crazy. I understand them not wanting to get flooded by this card draw, but it feels like they do have... I mean, we have chump blockers. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I feel like in that position I probably would have attacked. But we're going to hit for 2. And we get... an Augur down, but let's first scry to make sure we don't whiff on the Augur, as we usually do. Ooh, Thorn. Well, we want to set up this Augur plus Thorn. Could be risky. It could be very good, but it also could be pretty risky, so let's just get rid of it. We're already in a pretty good spot here. We do hit after we put 2 other spells to the bottom. We have 2 kind of situational counter spells, but it counters some of their stuff that could be problematic. Looks like they're just drawing mostly lands. All right. Another Augur. I think we'll just cast a Lorien. We still hold up either one of these, and if we get an untapped land, we can play the other one. They have a bargain in response while we're tapped out of full counterspell. Plus maybe if they hit like their last Pyro, or maybe they have more than one, I don't know. More than 4 in their deck. They did find their last Pyro. we are going to counter that. This does tap us out, but that's okay. All right, we get the Thorn anyway. They're not even attacking, so I think we can probably safely attack with all these flyers. Plus, I can jump with the Augur. I can even jump with the Ninja if I really need, but also I'm happy to take one hit here probably. If I had the mana up, I would definitely annul an Ichor Wellspring just to hold them off longer, but obviously that's not going to happen. They Spell Bomb, that can cycle and minorly inconvenience our next Gurmag Angler. I'm not really expecting that they kept their Krark Clan Shamans in, but if they did, theoretically that would be a decent draw here where they could just wipe these and get in for 8. Spell Stutter's a great draw. So we have 8 mana, so I could just do Thorn, hold up these two. Feels like Thorn's not that risky at this point, in before I absolutely regret it. All right, no, we win the game because of that. Did not regret it. So, I mean, they drew all 4 Pyroblasts, so Blue Blasts looked really good that game, but usually they're not going to be drawing that many. Is there anything I want to switch? Could put in relics for the Blood Fountain. Wasn't a big deal there, but obviously it could be the future. No, I don't know. Seems solid enough to me. Man, if we just had 2 lands, I think I'd keep this because we have 4 counterspells, but there's no guarantee we're going to hit that land. Once again, great hand, except for the land situation. If this was an island, I would probably keep because then I could Fairy Seer to set up our next draw, especially on 6, but it's not. So tap land on turn 1. Turn 2, I Seer to maybe draw a land on turn 3. That's not good enough. Someone doesn't want us to win this match because, I mean, I guess I'll keep now. Now that we're on 5, I guess keep the counter spells I can cast and the cast down for if they get something through, which they probably will. Get rid of this one. I don't know. Pretty frustrating mulligan. We get an Augur, and they got a Munitions, which I could just kill right now, but then I don't set up my land drop, so I'm gonna get rid of that Ninja. I am going to keep the Lorien. If they play like a Wellspring or something and then shoot this, kind of annoying, but what are you going to do? This is not really doing us that much good this early anyway, and we will probably cycle Lorien for an island. Well, we'll definitely cycle that for an island. But then we might just kill this Munitions if they tap out. Yeah, they do. Okay, they don't have the best start either. Paying 2 mana for their Thought Cast. So by doing this, I lose out on this Dispel for this turn. But I think this Fairy Seer could be valuable enough, either letting a Spell Stutter counter a 2-drop, or if we do draw a Ninja, that I think I'd like to protect it. Munitions just make Spell Stutters kind of irrelevant too after a couple more turns. I might just be playing a Serpent or a Mirror Enforcer here. Yep, I'm just going to cast that down and try not to die too quickly. Spellstutter's not a bad draw, but I would have preferred a land, obviously, and I'm not going to let this Serpent live when it could just kill us in a couple of turns. I mean, we made it beyond the early game that I kind of thought we were going to die right away with. They don't have the best draw by any means. I can't imagine a Ninja survives, so I think we're just holding up our interaction. No, I think we need to try to get something going. It probably just dies to a Galvanic Blast. Then at least we can set up our draws with a Fairy Seer. Yeah, a Pyroblast, same thing. Like, they weren't casting anything, so if they don't have card draw spells, they could. They might not want to sacrifice lands, but if they don't have creatures, they don't have artifacts, they don't have card draw, probably they're going to have removal. There's a bargain, but still got to do what you got to do. Yeah, I guess we're going to Fairy Seer, try to set up our lands again, since it's apparently the only way we can find land drops. And if they try to counter this, I will Dispel, since it's all we got to cast this turn anyway. They might just have a bunch of Pyroblasts and figure they might as well use them, which I think is fair. Once again, a Lorien revealed. I don't think I'm going to keep this Hydro, but we will keep the Lorien. That lets us hit our land drop plus Spell Stutter cast down next turn. I don't mind a Galvanic on that. We're still in this. They've had not a very good draw with only 1 threat, and this is why Grixis Affinity, you know, like I said, in general, doesn't have the most threats. You could also just be getting unlucky, but I think some of it's that and some of it's the other thing. I actually don't know if I want to hold up Spell Stutter here, because if they don't cast anything, I don't do anything. I think we'll just get down an Augur. Hope that it's not one of the bad Augurs. They have another Pyro. No? Okay. Looks like they do have another Pyroblast, but they're keeping it. Finally, a good one. Counterspell's kind of awkward because we already have counterspells at 2 mana, but it actually counters something 100%. What's Brainstorm do? Could find us a land. It could just lock us, but I think we're going to take the Brainstorm also because it allows us to cast 2 things. And they Galvanic it. Yeah, so they've just drawn all of their interaction, it looks like, which is pretty good for us. There's a Relic. Not great. And they're cracking the Relic right away. Fair enough. Hit a land drop and pass. Oof. A Null makes me actually not want to Brainstorm because then I could annul their artifact, and if they try to like Pyro, of which they only have a couple left, then I can Spell Stutter. I think we want to hit this land too badly though. Okay, we finally find it. Thorn could be really good next turn. And I'm going to keep Brainstorm so that if I need Cast Down, then I can find it. But we'll do this. Like if they still don't have a creature next turn and I can land a Thorn, we're in a pretty good spot, especially with a bunch of counter spells. And they're not doing anything. All right, I'm going to slam this guy. We are the Monarch. And now we have Cast Down, 3 counter spells. They do Galvanic Blast. If they were somehow sandbagging 2 or 3 creatures to put down here, you know, they got us good. But otherwise, we should be okay. And looks like they got nothing. Fairy Seer is nice. Let's Brainstorm first so I can Fairy Seer them away. Hopefully find a land here. Yep. Ooh, and we can get a Gurmag down. That's great. So now we have... I don't actually think I want to Fairy Seer any of these away. These are all amazing cards. So we're going to play Island, Gurmag, hold up Spell Stutter, so I can put back... let's do it in this order. Cast Down and Spell Stutter. Now we get a Gurmag. And we'll play the Fairy Seer anyway, just so we have a better Spell Stutter sprite. But these are both good cards. We'll draw the Cast Down, so we have our choice of 4 different spells here. Thoughtcast. Kind of want to counter that. They clearly top-decked it because they didn't have anything else. Or they would have cast it last turn. And that means they shouldn't have anything else really to do this turn. Okay. They've drawn all their Pyroblasts, which is fine, because if those Pyroblasts were Mirror Enforcers and things, we'd be in a lot more trouble. But I'm definitely satisfied with that counter spell. Blood Fountain. That would be a good one to have countered, but they also only have a Gearseeker Serpent in their graveyard. I mean, they're definitely unlucky here, even if it is low threat count in the deck. 34 cards left. They've gone through 26 and haven't hit a single refurb. Kill the fairy here, a single enforcer. Yeah, and they're out of cards. They've hit 3 pyros, all 4 galvanic blasts. And now we get to just hold up all of our counter spells, and we have a 4-turn clock. They're going to probably be forced to bring back the Serpent this turn, and then we'll just cast it down. They have a Bargain on the Wellspring. I think it's worth it to counter that we will spend both of our Spell Stutters to do so. This also just it doesn't quite speed up our clock actually by a full turn, but it's, you know, more attackers. If we get a Ninja, it does speed up our clock. And then we have an Annul for the Cryogen, and then they can't actually crack the Blood Fountain and bring back the Serpent, and we get another Spell Stutter. So this one's looking in the bag, I must say. Oh, that did speed up our clock. I was thinking that they would be at 8 from 15, and that was obviously not the case. They have a Wellspring, and we will just Spell Stutter that. All right, well, they drew really poorly there. We did mulligan really poorly, and we just dirtled around for the first 6 turns of the game or so, but we were able to pull it out. Like I said, the status overlay is not working at the moment, but we are 4-0. So we're playing for the trophy here, which is always a good feeling. All right, last round here against Fog Nano. Do we think they're going to be playing Fog? Sounds pretty good. We have both of our colors. Aquifer might be a little better than the Swamp, but we get a Fairy Seer down right away. We're going to do that. Ooh, I don't know if Snuff Out's going to be good. It really depends on what they're on. We already have 1 removal spell, so I think I'm going to get rid of it, but I'm not ever getting rid of a counter spell in this position, I don't think. Of course, I would have loved to find a Ninja there, but looks like more affinity, so we'll just be holding up counter spell, counter just about anything they play here. Oh, never mind. It looks like Jeskai. Okay. Yeah, this not being an Aquifer is a little annoying, because now I can't preordain without tapping out a counter spell, which I'm not planning to do. At least not this turn. Maybe next turn, when I can hopefully find another island. Yep, Jeskai indeed. There's a Snuff Out. We're going to preordain Ninja and an Aquifer. I mean, they could have a Bolt for the Ninja, so this might be greedy to not just take the Aquifer, but I think we're going to try it. If they only have a Scred, then they actually can't kill it, because they only have 1 island, or 1 snow basic at the moment. And it gets through. Very nice. That's great for us. Hitting our land drop there, just getting in for 2, and drawing a card. We are tapped out, but if they go for like a Muldrift or Ephemerate, we could Snuff Out, so not fully shields down. They do get a Wildfire, which we can't do anything about, and now they could Scred, which I could see that happening. But looks like they don't have it, or they're just holding it up longer, but we're definitely gonna draw another card here. Very good for us. Now, we have an Aquifer. I could put down a Fairy Seer. I think that's probably right. It's only really bad, I guess, if they have like a Breath Weapon. Wipes both of these, and then if we counterspell and they have a counterspell back, but that's not a big deal. We're definitely keeping Spell Stutter, kind of like an island too, so we're gonna just... I could preordain, find the Spell Stutter now and hold that up, but I think I'd rather have just a full counterspell up here to counter whatever they do. If they just like hardcast a Muldrifter, I'd like to have an answer for that. Same with like a Mystic or something, or an Archaeomancer, or yeah, there is the Muldrifter. I'd rather them not draw 2. while getting a blocker. Yeah, this ninja just doing tons of work here. Plus we hit our land drop because we set that up. And I guess not really a reason not to preordain here. I don't think we need another cast down. And if we had more card draw, in general, I don't hate another island, but like, well, we got one anyway. That's fine. But without like a Lorien or something, it's not like... I mean, we do have the card draw with the ninja, so honestly, more Lance is not bad. They cycle a Lorien here. I'm trying to figure out what they have, seeing as they have not cast removal. They hard cast a Muldrifter. They probably had like an Ephemerate to hold up there. There's another Muldrifter. We're not planning to let that resolve ever. If they counterspell back, we can spell stutter it. Lorien's pretty good. This turn, I might just get down Gurmag Angler. That just finishes them off next turn, plus we have a Dispel now. I think that seems solid enough. So they have one turn to do anything here. They have counterspell. I think we'll spell stutter. Actually, I could just dispel. I think we'll spell stutter while they're tapped out. I think the dispel might have more applications anyway. Plus, this way it's not susceptible to a removal spell. Now, if they have a Muldrifter, it's just gonna resolve, but we can clear it as far as it being a blocker. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, so we can just snuff it out. I assume they'll have an Ephemerate and we'll dispel it. Or rather, let's just cast it down. Dispel that, kill the Muldrifter, and we attack for 9. Yeah, it feels like they just kept a Muldrifter heavy hand with not a lot else going on. And no removal for that ninja was just brutal. All right. Blue Blasts are pretty good here. Not only are they going to have Screds and Bolts, just like Is It Fairies, but they're going to have the Cleansing Wildfires, potentially some Breath Weapons from the sideboard, and definitely more Red Blasts. So I think, I don't know, if 5 still seems a little heavy-handed. Relic's pretty good because they're going to have Archaeomancers. I think that's it. Okiba Gang could be pretty good too. Thorn, I don't have a lot of creatures. They do have Muldrifters, Augurs probably, Archaeomancer, Mystic. Thorn could be really bad against Mystic, but that is late game. Thorn does feel a bit risky maybe in this one. Snuff Out's really good because it lets us tap out and still have interaction for a Muldrifter Ephemerate. And also they just have so many important creatures, Archaeomancer, Muldrifter, Murmuring Mystic, that I don't really want to cut any of our removal. Augurs might get stonewalled a lot against their Augurs, even a Muldrifter or something. So maybe cut a couple of those. Like I said, we probably don't need 5 of these. We're not against mono red, but 2 or 3 seems reasonable. Relic to interrupt an Archaeomancer loop seems important. I like Okiba, but maybe this is not the time for it because they do have Muldrifters to, like, if we don't have all the counter spells and removal, they can block our flyers. They have removal for this guy. Yeah, I guess maybe we just do like these 4. Feels like there's not a lot of like cards to cut. Like if we're against an opponent where removal doesn't matter, we can cut all of these, but otherwise feels like everything's pretty good. Dispel and Spell Pierce I think are very good in this matchup. His hand looks solid. We're gonna keep it for sure. And another Spell Stutter. So we want to hold up Spell Stutter from turn 2. Kind of want it to... Yeah, I think we're just playing Aquifer. I could like preordain turn 1 and then hold up play a Swamp, but then we have Aquifer to get down at some other point, and I think it makes sense just to get it down now. No Wildfire on turn 2 is kind of nice for us. They do scribe both to the top though. Play a land drop. We're just gonna hold up Spell Stutter for not a lot. I mean, if they preordain, I guess I could counter that. That's not likely to happen. I might just send one out in case we can draw a ninja with this preordain, plus make the second Spell Stutter better. If they want to fight over this, that's fine. And they scred it just for 1, but that's enough. Fairy Seer. Okay, so we'll play the Seer then instead of the preordain, and they just counterspell. Yeah, fair enough. So if I hold up Spell Stutter, then they're not going to go for Muldrift or Ephemerate because I could counter the Ephemerate. I kind of want to get down the Relic though, and then we still have Snuff Out for the Ephemerate, so I think we'll preordain. We definitely don't want 2. 1 is kind of risky because we only have a Spell Stutter, so it could get trapped in hand if they kill this. I think we'll chance it, but it might not be worth it. Maybe I should just get rid of both. But Relic can start eating spells, so it makes Archaeomancer worse. Maybe that just forces them to throw out an Archaeomancer for a little bit of value for a counterspell, which would be fine. They are going to do the Muldrifter. So they draw 2. They don't have the Ephemerate. Okay. Like that. So just a Divination. Can live with. Another Snuff Out is fine. So if we just Spell Stutter here, chances of it eating a removal spell pretty high. Then Ninja just gets killed. Or Ninja gets stuck in hand, rather. I think I'd rather wait until we have a counterspell backup to do that. So we'll probably do it this turn. They have a Fjord. I mean, they could still just have 2 pieces of interaction, but we're gonna just try to hope they don't. They do have the Breath Weapon. We'll counterspell. And they got the counterspell, or Scred. Fair enough. We don't have a lot else going on. And to be honest, with them using 2 removal spells, this Ninja might survive. So I'm definitely just slamming it. Like, I have nothing else to do. Otherwise, I'm just like, I could hold up Relic and I could hold up Spell Pierce, neither of which feel very effective here. And if they did maybe use both the removal spells on that, Ninja could get there. Wildfire, can't do anything about that. They have another Breath Weapon. You know, fair enough. They're on 2 cards left in hand. Counterspell. All right. And we have a lot of reactive stuff to stop them from doing what they're doing. I think we'll crack this Relic now. I guess it makes a Gurmag a pretty bad draw, but I think I'd like to find some action. We'll Preordain, Blue Blast, and Spell Stutter. Spell Stutter for sure we're keeping. Is Blue Blast worth it? It's more protection against removal. I think we already have some, plus we would like to find... Did we take out the Thorns when I knew that they'd be good? Yes, we did. Thorn would be a great draw here, but obviously that's not happening. I think Spell Stutter's unlikely to counter something super relevant in this match, at least first. Like if I have something else going and they try to scred it, maybe it counters it, but I think I'd rather just the potential of drawing a Ninja. Then again, I guess we have one Ninja that's dead, one that's on the bottom of our library. They counterspell. I don't really want to use our only counterspell on this. And currently Spell Set is just a 1/1. I think that's fine then. We get a Hydroblast. All right, I guess we're looking for Murmuring Mystic or a Gurmag Angler. A Lorien Revealed wouldn't be bad either, although they could just have like a Spell Pierce or something for it. But yeah, I knew taking out Thorns was probably a bad idea. I don't know why I ended up doing so, because they would be great draws here. Brainstorm, we're gonna try to find something. Maybe we can get rid of those are good cards. Spell Pierce is super irrelevant, and this is a lot of Snuff Outs. I think we'll cycle this Lorien because those 2 cards are pretty irrelevant anyway, so getting rid of them is pretty close to drawing them. Plus, then we can play a Gurmag. If I play a Gurmag here, I can only have Counterspell up, but I might want to have Hydroblast up too if they have like 2 Screds or a Scred and a Counterspell, so I think we'll wait a turn and hope they don't draw anything great. Well, they draw Lorien Revealed. We're going to counter that. I'd rather they didn't. They have the Pyro. Well, we're going to counter that and hope they don't have another Counterspell. Nice. All right. Ooh. Well, we're going to Gurmag, and the other Gurmag still exists, right? Yeah, so actually let's preserve a little bit of the graveyard and also put down a Murmuring Mystic. If they have a Scred, they can kill one of them, but they're both pretty scary, and they just have a land. All right, we're getting in for 6. I mean, they've drawn a lot of lands for sure. Here's a Relic. I don't think there's any reason we need to pop that right now. It makes Archaeomancers bad draws. If they try to kill one of these, maybe I do it in response. There's the Archaeomancer. Well, they might have an Ephemerate, so they're going to try to get back Lorien here. I'm going to pop the Relic. They're trying to get Counterspell, and then they're going to... Oh, okay. I thought they were going to Ephemerate in response and then we'd snuff it out, but that's okay too. I guess I should probably just attack and shoot this. They clearly didn't have the Ephemerate, so I might as well make a bird. And in fact, if I did that last turn, I could have had a 2-turn clock, whereas now we're a little behind unless they play another creature that I can shoot with a snuff out. They have their own Mystic. Little late, I would say. What else they got? Lorien? Muldrifter. Okay. Well, we're gonna kill the Mystic while they're tapped out, or rather while they have no cards in hand. I'm more scared of that than of the Muldrifter, which just represents 1 chump block for the Gurmag. Mystic could be infinite chump blocks. Plus, if we find a removal spell for the Muldrifter, we can still just win here, whereas if we had killed the Muldrifter, then the Mystic could make a bunch of blockers. They have the Scred. Okay. That's pretty good for them. Cast down's pretty good for us. Oh, they don't have... They could have Counterspell mana, which I can't do anything about, but they don't have Ephemerate mana, which was a concern. But they didn't have it, so we get to just swing for 3 and pass to them. They got a Glacial Floodplain. We are 1 damage short here. Oh, never mind. We have the Ninja of the Deep Hours. I guess we might as well return the Mystic. Hit for 5. Well, that's another trophy on stream. 2 in a row. I got one with Black Sack the other day, and that feels really good, especially when I haven't played Dimir Faeries in a couple of weeks, a couple of months even. Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much. This list is solid as always. We definitely played against a couple off-meta decks. We played against kind of an interesting Walls combo deck, and we played against Is It Fairies, which I think we're the better version because we have free interaction with Snuff Outs. So Is It Fairies definitely probably has some better applications against certain decks, but I think in that matchup, I think we were favored. And what else did we play against? Something around 2. Then we against Affinity and Jeskai. But yeah, that felt pretty good. Well, we definitely got time. I think we might just run this back, try again, because I'm not thinking there's anything that I want to change right now. We only saw the Behold like once, but it was pretty solid. That's really the only like new addition. Oh, this is over here. I always forget that you can't see it when it's over there. That's the only like newish addition that I've really added here. But yeah, let's just go right back in. I have 4 trophies this season. That's more than usual. I usually get like a couple of trophies per season, but I play a lot of various decks, new brews that are not very good or decks that I'm not very experienced with. But you know, they better watch out. I'm coming for them. I only have to get 11 more trophies to tie for the record right now. All right, I appreciate it, Jonah. Go see you later. All right, League 2 here. Pretty good opening hand. We have a Brainstorm with a Shuffle effect. We also just have a turn 1 Seer, turn 2 Augur, which is also pretty nice. And we have a Ninja. This hand is solid. Could only be made better by, you know, maybe a Spell Stutter Sprite in here, maybe a Snuff Out. I think we're just starting with the Fairy Seer. The highest upside here is getting the Ninja going. Counterspell Gurmag. Kind of like Gurmag, but like Landscape, Brainstorm's going to be 2 cards in the graveyard. Counterspell might be a 3rd. It's not going to be a super fast one by any means, but I think we'll keep both of these. Maybe I should fish for more lands because we could definitely use more than 3, but Brainstorm can help with that. Ninja can help with that. I don't know. We could be against more Jeskai, potentially, and they have no colored mana. So I could go for an Augur here. We know we get a counterspell, but I think we just go for the highest upside, which is getting a Ninja going. Like, if they are Jeskai, they might be they might want to get, like, blue here, so they can hold up counterspell, but... Oh, they have an Ash Barrens. Interesting. Snow-Covered Island. That almost makes me think it might be Tribe combo, Tireless Tribe. Preordain. Could be either, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. In which case, this Ninja's going to go really far, I think, because they don't really play a lot of removal. But to finish my initial thought, if they were like Jeskai, they might want to get blue with this so they have double blue for counterspell, but then putting the Ninja down kind of makes them forced to get red if they have like a lightning bolt to finish it off. But it looks like we just get to draw another card here. Aquifer's a great draw. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to play to get black here, but I think we'll just play that, hold up our counter spell and our Brainstorm. I guess if we use Brainstorm, maybe we should have played the Landscape. They are blue-red. Okay. They have another Preordain. Yeah, maybe Landscape would have been better because if we don't use the counter spell, we're going to want to Brainstorm, but that's okay. As soon as I'm confident they're not Tribe combo or just some combo deck, I'll probably counterspell like a removal spell here. Like, if they go for a removal spell, I'm going to assume that they're not Tribe combo. And I'd like to keep Ninja alive. Looks like that might just happen. All right, I don't think I need to Brainstorm. I think it's fine. Might go for an Upkeep. Bolt. Yup. So, if I counterspell, they could have a Spell Pierce. Would have been nice if we had a Spell Stutter. I could Brainstorm for a Spell Stutter Sprite, just because then it gets around Spell Pierce. But then I'm tapping myself out more. But if I counterspell, what else am I doing this turn? Maybe just an Augur. I could let it go, but I think that's not worth it. Feels like they're gonna have the Spell Pierce though. I guess if I Brainstorm, I could Spell Pierce that, but then I don't lose any value. It's kind of tough. I could also Brainstorm, and then if I don't find a Spell Stutter, I still counterspell this. If they Spell Pierce whatever, I can Fairy Seer or Landscape. You know, let's give that a try. We find the Spell Stutter Sprite and a Dispel. Those are really good hits. Okay, so we'll put back an island. Put back... Gurmag doesn't actually look like it's coming down that fast. I don't know if we'll shuffle, but we'll put that back for now. Then we'll Spell Stutter Sprite. All right, that worked really well. Obviously, if we didn't hit Spell Stutter, it didn't really, it didn't matter as much, but that was really good. And I think we'll hold up Dispel here for another another bolt, just to force them to spend more time killing this. Like, if it dies at some point, so be it. But what was first a minor nuisance has become like they must kill it. Ooh, this could be a breath weapon. A Mole Drifter. Okay. So they are Jeskai. I just haven't seen Ash Barrens in Jeskai. We have the Dispel for the Ephemerate, though. But they don't even have the Ephemerate, so that's fine. All right. So now I'd like to hold up Counterspell and Dispel. So that means I'm not going to play Fairy Seer, and they concede. All right. I was probably just going to play Augur, but... yeah, 2 times against Jeskai now, a Ninja has just gone wild. That's absolutely insane. Okay, let's not take out the Thorns like I did last time and then immediately regretted. I didn't regret bringing in the Relics, though. So let's bring those in and take out a couple Augurs. I think that's what we were doing. And then I brought in Okiba Gang, but I don't think that's really necessary. I think Thorn's probably better, and I just was not evaluating properly. Ninja is so good. Don't even mind the green one. The green Ninja, the one that like gives a +1/+1 counter to a guy. Yeah, that one's not bad. It does feel like it is fun for sure, yeah. Obviously, the best ninjas that we've seen are in blue and black, but I do think that green one's kind of cool. I know that there was like a white ninja at Uncommon in Neon Dynasty. I would love to see like a common. Actually, I do a little bit, for fun, a little bit of custom card design. And I designed a red ninja, which was basically just like a 3/1 for 2 that can't block, but you can ninjutsu for 1 red. So it's just like kind of an aggressive attacker. I think it'd be cool to see at least one playable red and white ninja. Kind of getting new ninjas in Spider-Man. That is true. We're going to keep this. Very reliant on this preordain, but if we can't find a land in the next 4 cards, we're going to have a tough time, but that's kind of it. Yeah, I mean, they are in a lot of kind of new ninjas in that they do the bring a card back to your hand, but I think the most fun part about ninjas is the combat damage trigger, the fact that they then get to deal damage right away, and it's almost like an ETB trigger, but there's also that little bit of time where you can interact with it, and obviously we're not getting that. But yeah, still definitely some cards that are interesting. The landscape, oof, well, double counterspell is generally tempting, but I really need lands, so not gonna tempt me this time. We are in a bad spot if we don't hit a land drop here, but 1 Swamp or Contaminated Aquifer opens up all 5 of these spells, so I don't think this was the greediest hand ever. We certainly could have mulliganed. They have Spell Stutter? Excuse me? So we're against Jeskai Fairies. Okay. Not what I was expecting. I would never have kept this if I knew they were playing fairies. Like, legitimately. Just the fact that they have even easier to cast and board developing counterspells makes this a lot worse. They brainstorm. And Prophetic Prism. Man, I'm so surprised by all the spells they're casting. What are they going to do next? Okay, that's really good. It's a land drop. It is a black source for our Snuff Out. If they're playing Spell Stutters, they might be playing Ninja of the Deep Hours. It could be kind of like a mashup of Is It Fairies and Jeskai Ephemerate, because we saw Muldrifter, we saw Bolt, but they also have Prism, which feels like, do they really need the fixing? Oh, maybe they have Ghostly Flicker for Prism, in which case maybe they have Cryogen Relic. I have no idea. I have no idea what they're doing. Okay, what do we need to do? I think we just need to get this Augur down, unfortunately. That means we don't get Snuff Out this turn, and if they do Ninja us, it's kind of annoying. But if we hold up Spell Stutter, they could just play anything that's not a 1-drop. Also, they have interaction. Also, they just kill it, and I don't get a ninja down. This is a little bit better. We got to just take Preordain. We got to hit those land drops. I mean, we're very behind, but maybe we can come back from this with the use of Spell Stutters and Snuff Outs. Something that I've found myself that I say a lot in videos and leagues and things like that is like, we're in a bad spot, but at least, they only have 4 cards in hand. And that's because on turn 4, often, this Prophetic Prism would have been a Fanatical Offering that would have drawn them 2 cards, and this Brainstorm would have drawn them 2 cards. And so it's often like against Jund or whatever, that's like, oh, they still have 7 cards in hand. They only have 4, which makes me a lot less scared of them at the moment. They have a Core Skyfisher. What is happening? I mean, Core Skyfisher Spell Stutter is a combo that I've tried. I tried in the Esper Scam deck that I played that was not very good. But it definitely a sweet combo, and they pick up the Spell Stutter. Yeah. Okay, Island is good. That lets us... What does that let us do? We can Snuff Out the Skyfisher. I really wouldn't be surprised if they also have ninjas for this Spell Stutter, or they could pick up a Skyfisher, which could pick up whatever. This is very spicy. But they are missing land drops too. Well, they missed 1 land drop, which is good. I think we're snuffing this out while they're tapped out, and just holding up Spell Stutter Sprite, which can catch, something. Maybe I have 2 of them too, but also if I can get it down and get a ninja going, that's pretty good. I have another Snuff Out for their Spell Stutter. Yeah, if they just pass here, actually maybe I should have preordained, because if I could just land this Thorn, I'm in a pretty good spot. Plus we have a Snuff Out for their Spell Stutter Sprite. I expect this will just, eat a bolt. That's fine. Kind of weird how much Spell Stutter gets played as the only fairy. Yeah. I think we preordain. They're going to Spell Stutter it, and I can Snuff Out. We drew another one. I mean, I said in my stream a couple of weeks ago that I feel like Spell Stutter is kind of fine as the only fairy, because there are so many 1-drops that are relevant to counter. And I kind of stand by that. I had some people in the comments saying that most decks that play them at least run 4 other copies, even if they're splashing it in like not ninjas, in elves or something. They have Masked Vandals. I think it's fair. You definitely want more fairies, but like, I don't know, being able to counter 1-drops is really strong sometimes. I agree, that's just why it's weird. Yeah, it definitely is weird. They're doing some janky stuff over there. Okay, I don't need another ninja. I don't really need this counter spell with the way our mana is. Yeah, I really want it, but I really want to hit lands too, and there it is. There's the Bog, which is not terrible. This double black could be a little awkward if we get some more counter spells later, but if they flash in Spell Stutter here, I'll just snuff it out, and then we can get thrown down the next turn, maybe. I guess if they spell stutter here, I could also just flash in my own spell stutter to block, and then if they try to remove it, then I snuff out. That doesn't feel as good, because I also kind of want my spell setter to get in with my ninja, and if they focus on killing that, then I get a thorn down. Okay, they aren't flashing in spell stutter, they're just getting their white source. All right, they have spell stutter and three unknowns, which means they could have a counter spell for the thorn. I think we'll run out of spell stutter. If they want to kill it, that's fine, but if they don't, we can get ninja going. Electrickery, sure. Relics might be useless, actually. I brought them in because I thought it was Jeskai Ephemerate. We saw Mole Drifters, so there's probably Ephemerate in there, but they might not have Archaeomancers. So I could just run out a ninja. I don't think it's super unlikely to die, to be honest. Whereas if I run out of Thorn, it could get counterspelled. If I run out of Thorn, they actually might just be okay with that because they can spell stutter and try to take it, but then I have the snuff out. That kind of feels good. I don't know. If they just counter it, it's less good. But they do not. So we'll draw a card here. They flash in the spell stutter. I will kill it. I probably should have just waited till I drew a card. They could ephemerate this if they have that. I would certainly just snuff it out again. They do. Actually, I could let it happen, and then Ephemerate will stay in exile, and then I snuff it out. Since the ETB doesn't do anything, this way Ephemerate, they can't get back if they do have an Archaeomancer or something. 8 life, ouch. Yes. Hey, life is a resource. I will say, obviously, this because I play 4 snuff outs in this deck more than most, I'm super low on life, and they could have lightning bolts, it could be relevant, but them not taking the monarch's pretty important. If they took it there and then have a way to kill the thorn, I might not be able to ever get it back, and then they're just going to win the game. I think more than likely killing that is going to give us a very good shot at winning the game. Cryogene Relic, yeah, they do have relics. I predicted that, and if they have that and this, I bet there's at least a Ghostly Flicker in there. Yeah, this is not a deck you want to play if you are don't like spending your life, because often I've ended several games at 4 life because I've cast 4 snuff outs and no other reason. But it's great. Well, we get a ninja going finally. Thorn back in hand is very nice, and Dispel's not bad. I mean, in case Relic is relevant with like an Archaeomancer, we'll get it down. Big fan of life gain. I love life gain in big quantities or things. If like Unexpected Fangs, I was just saying earlier, is one of my favorite pet cards. I love lifelink, things like that. But I also definitely use my life as a resource when needed, and in a hard control deck like this, it is very much needed. They do get to keep our ninja tapped for a turn, pretty good for them, but them cracking that's also a bit of desperation. And I don't hate cracking Relic here, but actually Gurmag is one of our better draws, and I'd rather not make that a bad draw, so let's just leave it. Mystic's also one of our better draws, so let's just cast that. They do have blue mana because of this Prophetic Prism, but, and they could just have a Red Blast, which they do. We have a Dispel for it, but this means that if they have another way to kill it, we're not going to have any birds, which they could have another Red Blast right here because the Prism. I guess we might as well make them use a thing here. But yeah, Monarch's just going to keep our hand stocked, and yeah, that's pretty good for us. A little awkward that we have an untapped swamp here. I was trying to leave up blue-black because we had a cast down and a dispel, so I could use whichever one I wanted. Now we have a brainstorm since we used the dispel, but I still think that was probably the right call. I got a fairy seer, scry one to the top, and we're gonna untap with Mystic and Ninja, it looks like, which is pretty dang good for us. Not to mention brainstorm into something else. Oh, looks like they have, what do they have? Blue, red, ice. Okay, to tap it down. I could brainstorm to look for like a counter spell, but I really don't care too much about that. If I find a counterspell, I'd much rather save it for something scarier, like a way to kill the Mystic. So I think we're just going to let that go. Also, by using Brainstorm there, I would actually be seeing one fewer card this turn, because I would be redrawing a card I put back. Yeah, and we wouldn't have even found anything relevant. We are a little Brainstorm locked here, but it's also, we're very much in control of this game, so I'm not too worried about the 2 lands on top of our deck. We'll get in for 1. Not to mention we draw through them twice as quickly as usual because of the Monarch. They preordain. I probably should have just snapped off a Spell Stutter Sprite on that. Any 1-drop is probably worth countering. But then again, saving it for like a Pyroblast or something is also pretty good. They can't really get in here because if they try to bolt this, then I can just cast it down or whatever. Yep, but they concede. Their deck, really sweet. Probably maybe needs some tuning or something like that, but I definitely love what they have going on here. And I always like to see innovation in decks, so... Big fan of Archaeomancer Flicker Loops. Yeah, I like just the way I like to play. I'm a big fan of them for value. I'm not necessarily a fan of loops as in like infinite combo. But yeah, Archaeomancer Flicker for just like a whole bunch of combo, making a bunch of birds or whatever is really sweet. Yeah, I think generally like if you want to combo with it, Familiars is your best deck. If you want to value with it, Jeskai is your best bet. Or Ephemerate, my favorite card. Ephemerate is phenomenal. I mean, I was playing one of my favorite decks from that's not super viable now, or at least I haven't tried it in a while, was Mardu Ephemerate or Mardu Initiative, which tried to use it with Refurbished Familiar and things like that, and Goliath Paladin for Turbo Initiative. Not Turbo. You would ramp into it with Cleansing Wildfire and then Ephemerate. Anyway, Ephemerate's a fantastic card. Alright, we have double tap lands, pretty awkward, but we have a lot of really good cards. I don't think we're gonna ship this. Man, I was gonna play Jund Wildfire on my next tournament on Saturday, but now you make me struggle again if I should not play my Dimir Faeries. Have that for a long time now. I mean, ooh, that's a good draw. We're getting something blue. I think I'd rather have a counterspell on turn 2 rather than get a preordain going now, which could find us another untapped land, but it's not guaranteed. It's a tough call. I mean, those Jund Wildfire, Dimir Faeries are two of my favorite decks. Of course, you get Black Sack and Esper Cryoblade in there. That's probably my big four right now. And so I get it. It is tough, a tough call. I think we'll just hold up everything here. I don't know yet if they're fairies or terror or high tide, and so I'd like to just have counterspells. Ooh, it looks like they are Dimir Controller, Dimir Terror maybe. In which case they could have a counterspell for the Spellstutter Sprite, or they could have a Snuff Out for it. But we're not doing anything else. I think it's probably worth just getting on the field. Another Spellstutter. Could Ninja here, which taps us out. If I Ninja, we go up to 8, but we play this. We don't discard or anything. It taps us out, which I don't really think we should be doing against this opponent. Often, obviously, we've seen it happen, and it's been very effective, but I think this time I can just pass here, especially if they have the Snuff Out or something. It just doesn't feel great. Yeah, Flicker for value, not a fan of Solitaire decks. Right, exactly. Same boat here. Well, we don't need to play anything else while they're doing this. Could be a mirror, I suppose. I've had reasonable luck with Ratlock recently. It still plays. Okay. I have not tried that deck in several months. It was really rough for a while. I think maybe it could have been before Kuldotha was banned, and Kuldotha was giving it some trouble. We played Prismatic Strands and stuff, but still was hard to survive. I think we'll preordain. If they are fairies, they could Spellstutter this. Okay. Definitely like the island. They're probably fairies, control, or terror. I'm gonna guess not terror because they haven't put a single card into their graveyard, so I don't think I need the Snuff Out. I already have a Snuff Out and a Cast Down, so I think we'll just keep this island and then continue attacking for 1 and passing with counter spell stuff up. Shocked to not see a Raven's Crime in this deck, to be honest. I understand. You could probably try a Raven's Crime in this deck, but I don't think the land count is quite high enough. I think we're on, probably 18 lands. Yeah, 18 plus our Lorians. 22 is a little low, I think. They're just deep analysising. That is card advantage. I could just counterspell. I don't think that's really necessary. Yeah, I think our land count would need to be a little bit higher, but also we have so much card draw. I don't know. I mean, Esper also has so much card draw, but like we have a lot of sustainable card draw, like Ninja the Deep Hours, Monarch, and Lorians every so often, that we generally can play most of our lands, whereas Esper has such bursts of card draw with a bunch of thought casts and bouncing a Cryogen Relic that you get so many lands you can't play all at once. So I think we'll just cast another one of these. So yeah, I have not tested Raven's Crime in here, and I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm not sure it's going to be as good, just because you might need to add some more lands and the card draw, like I was mentioning. We're going to go for the Ninja now because we have Spellstutter and Counterspell up. Plus, we would like to hit our land drop, and this is one of the better ways to do it. They do have a Snuff Out. They're definitely something control. Turning down a card draw, that's illegal. Yeah, well, the thing is, let's see. What's the worst thing that happens if we counterspell here? I mean, they could just have a Spell Pierce, which is kind of awkward, but they could also untap and play like a Mystic or something. But then we have removal for the Mystic. I think we will counterspell this. I always love getting a Ninja down early, but we are a control deck. I think it's okay to not always get it right away. They do have the Spell Pierce. Yeah, that works. Even if it means turning down a card draw. And you know what? They were probably holding that Snuff Out from turn 2. So, but yeah, every damage that we do to them is going to be relevant here, seeing as they have Snuff Outs and Deep Analysis. Like flashing that back is going to put them to half-life, which is pretty good. Still not exactly sure what they are, but I'm going to guess. I don't know. They don't really feel like they're fairies because they haven't played any creatures. But also if they're like more modern Dimir control with like Snackers and Modern Age, you usually would have seen some of those. It does not feel like it's Dimir Terror. I don't know. They are flashing back Deep Analysis. Okay. I mean, it is a control mirror, so card draw is very important, but 10 life is also pretty low already. But yeah, still not really exactly sure what they're playing. And we'll never know, will we? There's a Ponder. Ponder doesn't really tell me much. All right, well, Fairy Seer. Definitely don't love that we're missing land drops here. I kind of think I just want to foretell this Behold so that I can hold up Counterspell and then cast it if nothing else. I mean, we got them on a 10-turn clock, so they... Okay, I was maybe getting the impression with the Ponder that it was Terror, and it looks like it actually is. It just did not feel like that before, because they didn't fill the graveyard at all, but... Terror. Good to know. I think we're going to spell stutter this. They could have another, but we haven't seen any all day, any all game. And they did just Ponder, so they clearly want to get rid of 2. Plus, we just get a little value off of this, unless they have like 2 Snuff Outs and they go to 1. Or, you know, they can't Spell Pierce this, so I feel like this is some decent value. Plus, now that we know they're Terror, the scariest things they can probably do are put down Terrors, and we have Snuff Out and Cast Down for those. They do have another Thought Scour, okay. Get rid of Mental Note and Fangs. I mean, since they haven't done a lot, I mean, theoretically, they could put like 5 creatures on the board here, and that would obviously be terrifying. Ooh, main deck Fumes. Brutal. I, too, am a lover of main deck Fumes. They don't play a creature, though. All right, I'm gonna Preordain, try to hit that land drop. Ninja... with a Fairy and a Counterspell. Really good cards. I don't really want to get rid of these. I think we'll keep them. I mean, more lands would be nice, but we're not dying without land drops. We have 4 mana here. And we can get down to Fairy Seer, next turn Ninja, Counterspells, we have removal for their stuff. If we do see a land off of this, we'll put it closer to us probably. Lorien. Well, that would shuffle away our Counterspell if we put that closer, like on top. If Ninja goes through, I draw them both next turn, but who knows? I think we'll leave them both, but... Counterspell first and see what they want to do here. Nothing at all. Brainstorm. I feel like there's no way they don't have any creatures, so it feels like maybe they're just trying to save them up to throw out all at once, but maybe that's not true because I feel like at some point you just want to do it. I guess again, we're not putting up that much pressure, and if they do just have a cast down for this Ninja, you know, that's pretty good, but I could Counterspell. I have to use another one, which they probably have because again, they don't have creatures. Then yeah, we just have a removal spell for everything else. I don't know. I guess the worst they could do is like put down a bunch of actual Tolarian Terror, which means that I can't kill them all with Snuff Out and Cast Down because of Ward, but I don't know. This has just been a weird game. Lorien Revealed is also pretty good. There's a Cryptic Serpent, finally. So we have Lorien. I almost don't want to cast it, or rather don't want to cycle it. I almost do want to just keep it to draw. Let's just cast down... Well, actually, let's Snuff Out, because that way I can play Fairy Seer and still hold up Counterspell. I guess this means if they play an actual Terror, then I have a 4-mana removal spell instead of a 2-mana removal spell, which is maybe worse. They do have a Counterspell, so I could counter back, or I could just cast down again. I think we just cast down again. Hold up Counterspell, and then we also have this Behold the Multiverse. But if they go with like another Lorien, we're going to try to counter that. They have another Counterspell. Yep. They are pulling ahead an advantage here, just with the Loriens. Now they have a Gurmag Angler. Wish we had a Gurmag Angler. Alright, Fairy Seer. I guess we're gonna finally cast this Behold the Multiverse. Try to hit a land. Snuff Out does not kill Angler. Feels like it might be worth keeping anyway for a Terror, because we have chump blockers for this for a couple turns. I think we will. Then we'll Seer Gurmag Mystic. That's pretty good. I guess we take Gurmag first, because currently Snuff Out's the only thing we could cast, and we might not even be able to cast it. Do I care to play a Fairy Seer here? Yeah, I think so. I don't have anything else to cast. The Scry is irrelevant, obviously, but this way we can like get in for an extra damage or just save our mana for if we end up playing the Lorien, so we can still have this down or whatever. Like this would allow us to cast Lorien next turn if that's what I want to do. Ugh, the fact that they are getting all theirs off is pretty brutal. How many counterspells are we seeing? 1, 2, just 2. Thought there was more than that, but so I could chomp. I could take it and attack for 2. They're obviously winning the race there, and then if we play Gurmag, I guess I'm not just playing Gurmag here, though, because that's a waste of a bunch of our mana. So I'm playing Lorien, which means we're taking it slower. So I guess we are going to chump. Just because if we take, like, one hit... Yeah, they have the Fangs. Pretty good. Well, good thing we didn't go for the race plan, trying to beat them to it. There's a Terror. Terror now feels like we could Gurmag plus Snuff Out. We have a double block here, but then if they have removal, that's pretty brutal. Or I could just go for the Lorien, which means the following turn I could Mystic. It's maybe Snuff Out. Yeah, I think we got to Snuff Out here. since they had the Terror pay for it. That's good. Then we'll Gurmag. I'm used to Terror just, turboing out Terror a lot quicker than it playing, because it's not really a control deck. It's kind of a mid-rangey deck. So the fact that they just didn't do anything for like 6 turns, and then they didn't have creatures clearly, and then eventually found them, definitely was throwing me off. Get rid of 2 Brainstorms with the Mental Note. Thought Scour us. They get rid of our Murmuring Mystic. That's pretty annoying. I don't even know if they were doing that intentionally because we scryed, because they just did another one, or if it was just because they wanted to not mill out. So I could double block, probably have the removal. Then next turn I Lorien, then they attack for 6, then I have 1 turn to stabilize. Or I could chump, Lorien, I have an extra chump block if I really need. Yeah, I guess we just chump block. I don't know. Not a great spot. I think we lost if we lose. It was due to the 9 cards they drew off of Lorien Revealeds that, to be honest, I maybe tapped out a couple of times with counterspells that I didn't need to. They just cast this down anyway, so it didn't really matter if I went for the double block then. They're killing it regardless. We get a cast down. I mean, we have to do that, I guess, right? I mean, it feels like we should, but also if it gets counterspelled, then we wasted our whole turn on a 2-drop. Whereas if I Lorien now, and I find maybe another cast down, then I can kill it next turn. Yeah, I think we got a Lorien actually and just take the hit. If this gets countered, maybe the cast down gets through. Well, maybe we can come back with our own Loriens. We are going to take 6 here though. That's their 4th Lorien that cast this game. Pretty sure we did that a couple of matches ago, but it doesn't feel good when it's against us that it's happening. Plus that just increases the chance they have counterspell for the cast down. There's a Terror, which doesn't technically kill us. There's another Lorien. Well, this has got to the cast down has to resolve if we're to win. So I think we do that first, just on the off chance they have like a Spell Pierce, and this gets around that. They just have the counterspell though. I could Lorien Revealed, but Snuff Out's not going to save us, so they got us. That was a very long game 1. Okay, we do get relics. Fangs of our own? I don't know if that's necessary. Extract a Confession. Okiba seems good because they don't have, like, their Snuff Outs are going to be irrelevant against it. Nothing else we need. These 5 seem good. Spell Pierce is fine. It's not crazy good, but it is good against Lorien if they cast that, or early Mental Notes and things. I don't think... What are you doing? I don't think we're taking out any cast downs or Snuff Outs, even though this doesn't hit a Gurmag. I think Thorn seems solid. They don't have that many creatures. Probably just the 12, although they might bring in Murmuring Mystics, which could make it worse. Augur as a chump blocker seems decent. So I guess, what do we cut? Maybe we don't need the Fangs. That was mostly just to race their Fangs or race them or whatever, but don't think that's actually necessary. I guess Spell Pierce could be cut probably. Maybe 1 Snuff Out. Relic still seems good. Okiba seems good. Extract seems good. Yeah, these all I like. Dispel is strong. Hold, I guess Ninja's worse just because of their Snuff Outs. I feel like Thorn could definitely be a good win con. Maybe 1 Augur. We'll try that. Alright. No lands. Gotta get rid of it. No lands again. Down to 5. 1 land with a Preordain. I guess we keep. I'll get rid of, guess, the Gurmag. Keep our removal for if they get an early Terror. Not a great 5-card hand. Island is a nice draw though. I think we'll just get down an Augur. We got to play for the highest upside since we're down a couple cards, which means hoping the Augur hits, which it did, and that means hoping we top deck a Ninja and they don't have a removal spell. That's the goal. Ponder. Plus we'll probably Preordain to try to find our 3rd land drop. We did just put 2 on the bottom with the Augur. Extract a Confession. Well, we're gonna Preordain. I guess they could Spell Pierce us. Behold an Island. Yeah, I mean, we'll keep those both. Play an Island, and I guess we'll just Preordain here too, just to get our mana used. I think that makes sense. Unfortunately, I couldn't get both the Island and the Behold and then foretell the Behold. That would have been nice, but Aquifer is good. I guess I could have played this before I played the other land. Then I could play the Aquifer, and the next turn I could Behold. That was a mistake, I suppose. Not I suppose. It was a mistake. I just should have held the land when I realized, well, there was no reason to play it right there. If I top deck another tapped land, it would have been good. A Thought Scour, a Mental Note, and another Thought Scour. We do have some decent interaction for if they get down an early Terror here. We're gonna foretell this Behold, cycle a Lorien. So much love for this deck. It feels playable in this meta. It feels pretty good. I haven't played it in a couple of months, but we played it here, and this is our second league, and the first league was a trophy, which felt pretty good. A couple of the decks that we played against were off meta, but we did play against Grixis Affinity and Jeskai Wildfire, or Jeskai Ephemerate and things like that. But yeah, I think it's feeling pretty good in the meta so far. So I could extract. I guess I snuff out. They counterspell, then I extract. I think that's right. I don't know if it matters which order I do it in. Maybe it does not. Maybe I should have done the extract first. But yeah, this is definitely one of the decks that I play that feels kind of evergreen. Like, obviously the meta shifts. Some things are worse, some things are better. You might need to shift the list according to the meta, but in general, it feels like it's always pretty decent. It's just a lot of very good cards, and I think it's a very high skill ceiling. So as long as you're pretty good, I feel like you can do really well with it. As long as you're pretty well experienced with the deck, that is. All right, well, they're going to have a counterspell here, so I could cast on the Gurmag, and they counterspell. Then I can extract one of them, but that's it. I think I'd rather Behold the Multiverse. They let that go. Thorn seems decent if I can just wipe these both away, which I can if they don't have any interaction. Also, I do like a land. I guess we'll keep these both. Brainstorm. It's not bad. Well, we're going to cast this down. We have to do this now. I guess I could have done these in the upkeep if I had used extract before, but what are you going to do? Yes, it's always meta dependent. Yeah, any control deck is always going to be dependent on the meta, and probably worse when there's a bit of a meta upset. That's the word I mean. When the meta shifts, you have to kind of change your removal spells and everything to like target what's in the meta. But in general, it feels fine. Okay, if I extract here, they could just have a Spell Pierce, which is kind of awkward to give that any relevance at this point in the game. I could just chump with Augur. Yeah, I kind of think we're just going to pass here, play it slow. If I go for the extract, it feels like they just have whatever, whereas at the very least next turn, if I extract, I can get around Spell Pierce. I could Spell Stutter, things like that. Do I even want to chump? It's better to have chump blockers later if we have the Thorn down, but Thorn's not coming down for a turn or two. I guess we'll take this hit. We're going to pass, so we're going to Brainstorm. Snuff out, Spell Stutter. Okay, so I could Snuff out on the end step here. Then if they have Spell Pierce or whatever, it's fine, because then I untap and I extract. Then if they have a counterspell, can't do anything about it. But then I have chump blockers. But the fact that we can use the mana here feels like we probably should. So let's put back these two. And then, yeah, let's snuff out. And I could shuffle in my upkeep with Lorien or Seething Landscape. Okay, that goes off. That's very good for us. I'm not drawing Thorn, which I probably should have done the other way just in case. We're drawing a Spell Stutter. I think that's fine. Okay, so now I could just slam a Lorien. I could just hold up double Spell Stutter. Those are my options. They can't get another Terror down for a bit. I really wish I had Thorn. I think we're going to Lorien here. If they want to counterspell this, maybe it lets the Thorn get through next turn, which if they can't get Terrors down for a while could be really good for us. That's kind of what I'm feeling. If we had more pressure, I would maybe just try not to play into their counterspells at all, but with 1 damage, I don't anticipate winning in 16 turns with this one Augur. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling there. And if they Lorien, that's not the end of the world because we get our Thorn down, which is pretty good for us. So they have more cards in hand right now, and they snuff out the Augur. Okay, fair enough. Ooh, Ninja's pretty good. They might just be snuffing out because they're trying to fill their graveyard. Yeah, so they can get guys down. Mill a Spell Pierce. They ponder 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, that's Terror mana. Or Terror Graveyard. Thorn can block one of them if it doesn't get cast down. Extract can kill one of them. There's a Terror. Land wouldn't be bad here, because then we could double Spell Stutter if we wanted to counter a counter. But we're going to just extract. I expect a counterspell. They have it, unfortunately. I think we just want mana here, lands, because we already have our card draw. So they have to remove the Thorn, and if they try, I can maybe block with a Spell Stutter Sprite. I would love a Dispel here. Okay. And then, or I could just try to take it back with the Spell Stutter Sprite, which we also have a Ninja, although we're also at 7, so 1 hit from this is not lethal, but it's pretty close. I think we'll Spell Stutter pretty much any 1-drop they cast here. They just go to attacks. Well, I will make that trade, unless they have a way to shrink its power. Oh, sure. Okay, that's fine. We still keep the Monarch. I think we flash in a Spell Stutter Sprite then, because we need the blocker regardless. Might as well do it when we have the mana here, plus we have a Ninja we could use to buy it back. If they just kill or counter, that's fine. Cast down's pretty good. I think we're just doing that here right now so that they don't have access to like double counterspell mana. Real counterspell, which means if they try to counterspell, I could Spell Stutter Sprite. If they have like a Snuff Out, that works, but hopefully it won't. Okay, that was great. That worked. So now we get to Ninja if they let us go to blocks. We do. So even if they kill this, we have a Spell Stutter Sprite back in hand. They do have the Snuff Out for it, but we still have Monarch and double Spell Stutter Sprite. Gurmag's really good because if they get another creature down here that can block, looks like they got a Gurmag of their own. And a Brainstorm, Island, and another Lorien. Yeah, that's pretty good. We get a Ninja. Well, we got Gurmag, and no reason to really play anything else. So we'll pass. Triple Spell Stutter's pretty good. Of course, their relevant spells are probably going to start at 2, so I might have to send 2 of them out to counter the first thing, but then the third one can maybe counter something else. Like if they attack and go for an Unexpected Fangs, I will definitely try to... In fact, I might, if they attack, I might Spell Stutter before blocks, double block in case they have the Fangs, just in case it gets through. Like I'll still try to counter the Fangs, but then if they're able to get it through, I still have a block that trades favorably. I think that makes sense, since we'll be sending one out anyway. Ooh, and if they're just going to Mental Note, I will just try to counter that, since we want one of these before damage anyway. I'll take my value where I can. And they knew we had a Spell Stutter. They don't know about the second 2, I don't believe. And there's the Unexpected Fangs. They're just doing it before they even attack to make sure it gets through. We're not going to let it. And then they try to Brainstorm. I think we're just going to counter that too. If their last card is something relevant, it's pretty good. But I kind of think countering all their stuff seems strong to me. And if they have nothing else, I mean, we have lethal on them. Shrivel. Okay, well, they got us good. They still can't attack here or we'll trade, but that, you know, I still think I'm okay with that trade, but maybe we walked into it. This is kind of funny. We're going to attack with our Gurmag, and if they don't block, I'm going to Ninja it back because we can play it again for 1, and I'd rather the card draw than the damage. Counterspell's amazing. We're going to replay the Gurmag, and we have a Snuff Out for, you know, a Terror or something, not obviously this Gurmag. Spell Stutter's pretty good too. And then we can counter pretty much anything they play. Well, literally anything they cast with the counterspell. All right. We have about 6 minutes to win the last game, and this is a slow matchup, but I'm pretty happy with how that game went. And let's try to get them in game 3. And we're down a couple minutes because I've been thinking a lot, so I might think a little bit less and just start doing things. And hopefully it'll turn out for the best. Well, this is an easy one. I don't need to think about that. This is also an easy one. I guess getting rid of something is tough. Yeah, I think we're going to get a little greedy and get rid of the Lorien because I like Augur into Ninja, and then Spell Stutter's good, and I like Preordain to find more lands. Maybe better than the Lorien. Bojuka Bog is really nice. That can stave off. I kind of like both of these. We're going to keep these, I think. Maybe I should dig for more interaction, to be honest, but I don't know, it seems solid to me. Thought Scour away a couple lands. Looks like they're a little flooded. And what else they got? Nothing. We're gonna Augur a Bolas. It's Barf's List. It is very similar to Barf's List. I'm only playing 1 Bojuka Bog instead of 2 in the main deck. Other than that, I think the main deck's exactly the same, and I have some sideboard differences. I have a nulls and things in the sideboard that he did not. But yes, seeing he is the Fairies Master, I generally defer to his list and then make a couple tweaks based on how I prefer to play. They have 3 spells in graveyard right now. I would love for them to like try to Thought Scour here to get a Terror down and then miss a little bit. And then we hit them with something. Well, I think we're just gonna Augur. We're gonna Ninja our Augur. I expect it to get killed, but then we can Bojuka Bog, take out their graveyard. It didn't get killed. Okay. They only have 3 spells in the grave. Maybe I just leave that then for now. I feel like if they had a way to fill their grave or a removal spell, they probably would have done those, like a Mental Note or something to try to dig for stuff out. They probably would have done that in response. I don't know. Maybe if they put down a couple terrors here, it's going to be rough, but I think things seem okay for us right now. There's a Terror for 3. We have a Snuff Out and a Relic. I mean, we're gonna bog them regardless, so I don't think I need to Relic here. I guess if I Snuff Out and they have like a Spell Pierce, then at least they use that and then I bog it away. That just works. Okay, I love that. Attack for 2, draw a card. Dispel's not a bad one. I'm just gonna bog them then. Hold up Brainstorm and Dispel. I might honestly just use Dispel on like a mental note or something, just to like stop the graveyard from being filled. Although we have this Relic, maybe that's not necessary. Cycle of Fumes. That's a good sign, because Fumes is pretty good against us, as we've seen in these games. The fact that they're ditching it means they're kind of desperate. If we don't do anything, we will Brainstorm here, set up our Augur, try to hit a land drop, and they just snuff out. Well, I'm gonna Dispel that. If they have another one or a counterspell, so be it. But I honestly don't mind them using up their life total for that, and yeah, they didn't have anything there, so I'm not sure what their hand is. Maybe just a bunch of creatures. We get another card draw, though. I do think we're going to Brainstorm. Try to hit our land drop. Put back one relic. Actually, I could just keep both relics. That's kind of crazy, but yeah, let's put back Gurmag Thorn. Play a relic. Like, if we put 2 relics on the field, how do they ever play a creature? Never, right? They just don't. Like, if we have 1, it's already pretty good, but the second one is, like, just brutal. I didn't use the Brainstorm to set up this Augur, which was probably a little bit of a mistake, but to be honest, I wasn't going to cast Augur here anyway. I'd rather just have my counterspells, but I can't cast it next turn and know for sure, because I put it back Gurmag Thorn, because I'm rushing a little bit, but that's fine, because I can also just attack. I mean, I think we're in a very good spot regardless. I guess we could get down Thorn. Actually, let's just... Oh, we have double black here, so actually I can't double counterspell here. Double land. I mean, we'll keep one of those, and then just foretell this. Hold up counterspell and pass, and play a land, swing for 3, draw a card, play our Augur, hold up spell stutter and counterspell. Cast down's not bad. We'll take a counterspell, and we have a spell stutter we can flash in to make it lethal next turn. Cast down. Yeah, I guess we'll counterspell. I guess this means it's not quite lethal with without the ninja, but that's okay. Make sure to use these right away so there's no moment where they can cast a terror. And we even have removal. If they somehow land a terror, we'll be good. Draw even more cards with this Thorn of the Black Rose, and also put lethal on board. They're going to counterspell, and we will counter back. I could use a spell stutter, but that's more susceptible to removal. I guess they don't have removal up because they can't cast the snuff out, so I probably should have just done the spell stutter, but that's okay. We will get rid of that and draw a Fairy Seer. They Brainstorm, and they could cast a 6-mana terror right after this before I have priority if they'd like, or they could potentially do something else. We're catching up on time though. All right, we will relic them and just go for lethal here. They have a snuff out, which I cannot counter, so they will survive another turn. So we'll play a Gurmag Angler, try to finish the job, plus a Fairy Seer. We now have 4 lethal attackers, and we'll keep a Murmuring Mystic on top. Draw and pass. All right, and they give us the GGs. Whew, that was quite a grindy one. Quite fun, though. And we are 2-0 at the moment. Our status overlay not really working for some reason, but I'll keep you updated. Thanks. This is definitely a deck that... Some decks I was saying this before, I just don't get. Like, Mono Blue Fairies I've played a lot. It's a very fun deck. It is very difficult for me to pilot properly, and some decks are just easier, and this Fairies deck is one that I'm not saying I always make the right call by any means, but in general I understand what you're supposed to be doing, and it's just fun. Very fun when you can play a control deck that also gets to attack and get value in other ways than just like casting your deadly dispute effects and things like that. And I like Monarch. I mean, in general, I like having Monarch, of course. Is it great for the format? Who knows? But it is fun to be drawing multiple cards a turn for sure. All right, we have 2 lander. I can play an Augur on turn 2. Preordain. We have some removal. Removal goes all with Thorn. Yeah, this one's not the best ever, but I think it's serviceable for sure. We are against more blue. It feels like it's been blue all day. Get an island here. Yeah, I think we'll just run out the Augur. I'm more of a stompy guy myself, but I appreciate decks like this. Yeah, I get that. I think we just want lands, even though this counterspell is tempting. I definitely appreciate stompy decks. I mean, I think Black Sack is kind of a stompy deck, right? So there's definitely... Unless you mean just mono green stompy, but if you mean generally attacking with a lot of creatures and things like that, I like that style too, but I definitely like it to have a value package. Like, I like mid-range decks a ton, but if it's more aggro where it's all just attack and not as much value, it takes a special kind of deck for me to really like that, like Black Sack, where there's so many intricate points that I really like. I definitely like playing a mono green or a mono red or something like that every once in a while, but I definitely like the decks that make you think a lot. They shuffle with the Ponder, which is interesting. Ponder usually means... I feel like we've been seeing a whole bunch of blue decks, but mostly non-traditional. We haven't seen Mono Blue Fairies or Mono Blue Terror today, and we've seen a bunch, and we saw High Tide, but we've seen a bunch of like less common blue decks, which is great. I'm loving it. All right, we're going to Preordain, Dispel, and Counterspell. I mean, if we're against a blue-black deck, these both look really good. I probably should have Lorient first because I don't really want to get rid of either of these, but I can't actually use the Counterspell this turn, so I might as well draw the Dispel. And then, yeah, the fact that we now... Because I might want to sack this for a swamp, cycle the Lorient for an island, and then slam the Lorien, depending on what they do. Or not the Lorien, slam the Thorn or the Black Rose. But then we don't have the Counterspell, which is kind of annoying. Hard to find a balance. I thought that last green stomp you 5-0'd with was pretty interesting. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I remember playing okay, so there's Snacker deck. I played Stompy with like Brave the Wilds and artifacts and stuff like that. Is that the one you're referring to? Alright, so we don't want to just Thorn, obviously, because that's goofy. Into a Snacker. So I do want that Counterspell, so I think we'll just draw. We will still cycle this for a Contaminated Aquifer, swing, and we'll just hold up Counterspell here. So yeah, I would guess this is more of the Dimir control list with Modern Ages, Snackers, things like that. It's going to play a lot of the same cards as us. Oh, never mind. It is more Terror with Thought Scour. It just has Snackers in this one. Gotcha. Cast down, Dispel. Okay. Oh, the one with Crew Shocks and Ram Throughs. Oh, yeah. Like the, sorry, I play a lot of leagues. I'm trying to remember. I did like a Gruul Stompy, or like Gruul Monsters list that I might have 5-0'd with, but then I also did like a Golgari Green Stompy list with Crew Shocks and things, and Ram Throughs. Another mental note. I don't really want to Dispel that. I'd rather just Counterspell like a Terror here, and then if they try to fight over it. I think it was mono green if I remember. Okay. I believe you. I am just blanking on it. But yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of Green Stompy for sure. They snuff out the Augur. Okay. I guess they're worried about the Ninja and they just want to know if I'm going to fight over it right now. I think that's fair. I'm not gonna. They have a Terror. I think we'll Counterspell this because they probably have a Counterspell and then I can snuff it out. They have a Spell Pierce. Well, that's annoying. But we have a Dispel if they happen to have another piece of interaction. Also, this is getting a quick Gurmag for us. Well, that's annoying because that's 6 mana. With this should be 2 mana, but it's 6 mana against these. Okay, instead I think we're going to snuff out one of them, Gurmag, and then we can hold up Dispel. Okay. Snuff out Gurmag, hold up Dispel. Yeah, and then cast down next turn if this is still around. They have another Snacker in the bin also that I did not mention. So these Snackers definitely could be a problem. They don't attack. I guess wanting to wait around for like an Unexpected Fangs or something. If they try to draw 3 cards to bring back this Snacker, I'll probably Dispel the 3rd card draw. Like if they go like Brainstorm, I'll probably just counter that. If they go like Thought Scour into Thought Scour, I'll probably counter the 2nd one. Things like that. Don't really want 2 Snackers floating around. One's already pretty bad. Would love to find my Bajuka Bog. They're just going to pass. I could Landscape. I don't think I need to yet. I guess if I draw another black spell, maybe I'd want it, but okay, that's decent. Fights over that. I'm not just going to slam a Thorn, probably until, maybe at all this game. Like, if they have Snackers floating around that I can't deal with, I don't think Thorn's ever coming down. But if they have, yeah, if we're able to, like, kill them and then Bajuka Bog, maybe we will. With this Seer, we're definitely looking for counter spells, removal spells. Looks like they might be doing something in response, though. They're going to counter spell. So I could Dispel, but then I can't cast down this turn. But it doesn't look like I need to cast down, plus I could chump block. I kind of want this Scry pretty badly. This might be greedy, but double Preordain. I mean, I'll keep one of them. It lets me look further next turn. I think the second one just seems unnecessary, though. I don't really know if I want to trade this Fairies here for this Snacker until I have a way to get rid of the graveyard, or at least counter like a Brainstorm. Because then if they just get them both back, it's pretty bad for us. So if they want to do it, at least I'll still have my Seer around. If they Deep Analysis here, yeah. Yep, so we have Preordain on top. I can't cast down the Terror until my turn. Yep, I think we're just drawing. Preordain. Counterspell's not bad. It's just so expensive to kill a Terror, dude. Like, I would shoot it off if we could still also hold up Counterspell, but I think I'd like to block one of these, and if they try to get them back, or if they try to Unexpected Fangs this, we'll interact at that point. Flashback, Deep Analysis. It's not the best counter ever, but it is card advantage, and it gets a Snacker back. Snackers are killing us pretty quickly here. I think we'll counter that. Cycle Alorian, and they got a Gurmag, it looks like. Yeah, I could cast down the Gurmag. Feels like they're going to have a Spell Pierce, which is pretty bad. I could also cast down the Snacker, play a Thorn, which is really bad if they have any removal. We basically lose. I think we just cast down the Gurmag and hope for no counterspell. There it is. Yeah, and then we get an island. Well, I think we pretty much have to play this, because if we don't, we can just take 7 here, and that's pretty bad. At the very least, here I could take, like, you know, I could block both of these, and that would be decent. Spell Pierce might be relevant. Of course, I could take it with the Snacker, but maybe if we can find removal, and if they only go with the Snacker, we can, like, remove a guy and then take the Monarch back. But when we had nothing else, it's kind of the last Hail Mary, and they are going to take it. Deep Analysis, well, we're going to Spell Pierce that, get some use out of it, plus keep this Snacker off the field, unless they have another one of their own, or Dispel or something. Looks like they have a Brainstorm. Well, still going to get the Snacker back. Trying to think what we could even draw that would get us out of this. Not a lot. A Murmuring Mystic earlier would have been good. Brainstorm. I held the Thorn so long to brainstorm it away with this landscape, but now it's just look at the top 3 and keep one of them. I could get a Gurmag down. Let's see, we attack with these 2. They trade. Gurmag down. They get in for 4. We can get in. We're probably dead. I might as well Brainstorm to, like, look again. See if one card further down is more relevant. No, less relevant. Counterspell doesn't matter. I guess by attacking with both, if they don't block, we just die. But I think that's fine. We're in a pretty rough spot regardless. But they might see that and be like, oh, if they don't block at all, they'll be fine. And they don't block. We know the top card of our deck is a counterspell. We can play this, block one of these, we'll take 9, we'll die. Alright, they made the right call there. So again, we get Relic. Crypt Incursion doesn't feel very good. It does hit Snacker, but that still is not really where I want to be at. I think we're just doing these 4 again. I assume when they're on Snacker, that means they're not on Cryptic Serpent, which means Snuff Out only hits Tolarian Terror. Excuse me. It's pretty good against Tolarian Terror because it's 2 mana as opposed to all our other removal, but it doesn't hit anything else, so I think we only want a couple. Extract becomes pretty good. Yeah, we're going to keep this, I think. All right. This one it's okay. It sets up pretty well. It's also a lot of lands, which is good. We want to hit land drops for sure. And if we happen to have, the clear way with no creatures on board early, we can get a Thorn down. But with them playing Sneaky Snackers, Thorns are a lot worse. To be honest, maybe I should have cut them in this match. They were definitely good against the Terror that had all creatures on the ground, but Snacker makes things a little worse for sure. We're going to start with a Fairy Seer, because if we can find a Ninja, I'll probably try to get that going right away and just hope they don't have a Snuff Out immediately. They mulligan just once. Spell Stutter Sprite is pretty good. I don't think we'll keep a Swamp, but I'll definitely keep the Sprite. They play an Island. I'm just going to play an Island, and if they cast anything here, they'll probably cycle a Lorien, but if they cast like a Thought Scour or something, I'll Spell Stutter it. To get our value, they do cycle the Lorien for an Aquifer, which means Snuff Out could be coming. Do I just want to Brainstorm here, or do I just want to Spell Stutter? I don't think so. I think we'll just leave it. All right. Well, we're getting in for 1, playing an Aquifer here. I could play Island and hold up Brainstorm and Spell Stutter, but I don't actually care to do Brainstorm that much until I have something else going. They're gonna Thought Scour. I will take that out. Plus, this way we can get like a Thorn down, which isn't looking like it. It looks like I might do that. Like if they don't have Counterspell mana up, I might just slam a Thorn when they don't have too big of a graveyard. No Snackers in there right now. Missing land drops too, although they have Counterspell mana, so probably not gonna Thorn here. Probably Brainstorm to try to find a Ninja, force them to like Snuff Out. Actually, they're gonna cast down right now. Okay, well, I like that. That definitely is gonna make me do the Thorn, especially when we're drawing nothing else. So yeah, I mean, they're missing lands. Even if next turn I think their best hit would be like Thought Scour into 2 Snackers and then Brainstorm, bring them both back. If they don't do something like that, I think we're going to be able to keep this Monarch for a very long time. Starting with a Brainstorm means that's not going to happen. Although I guess Brainstorm into Thought Scour, they could set up the Snackers, so maybe that's a decent way to make that work for the following turn. I guess if they're super lucky, they can Brainstorm, put back 2 Snackers, Thought Scour them away, hit an untapped land drop, and then on my turn, Brainstorm, bring them both back. That could be pretty good. They have a Spell Bomb. That's an interesting bring in. Gurmag is, like I've said, Gurmag is the only reason we care about our graveyard. I don't really care about that. We're going to Brainstorm. Mystic's great. Well, we're putting back Lorien so we can pick it up with this Augur. Or I could, we just have a lot of lands. I could put back 2 lands, shuffle with the landscape, and then play Augur. It's blind. Yeah, I think with Lorien we actually are fine with the lands. So let's just put these 2 back, Augur Bolas, pick up a Lorien, play an Aquifer, and we'll attack. We draw a Counterspell. Yeah, things are going very well. Next turn we get to Mystic with a Counterspell up, and they've still missed land drops. I think the mulligan was only to 6, but obviously did not do quite what they needed, and they're just cycling the Spell Bomb right away. to try to hit that land drop, which they did not. Bojuka Bog's pretty good too. I was gonna Mystic with Counterspell backup, but maybe I just Bojuka Bog. I think we still Mystic, but Bojuka Bog next turn is pretty dang good. All right, and that's gonna win the game. Let's go to game 3. All right, we've got 2 lands, blue and black. We can also brainstorm, fix a little bit. Hand looks decent, not amazing or anything. Opponent mulligans to 5 though. Curious, what do you do for a living? I currently am unemployed. However, in general, I am a copywriter for the last 7-ish years. Product copywriter for products on websites and things like that. Opponent mulligans to 4, so could just be a pretty easy one. But yeah, my last position was a contract position, ended a couple of months ago, and I've been spending all of my time pretty much on the channel, which is why there's been a lot more development on it recently. That's why I started streaming. That's why there's been shorts pretty much every day or every couple of days. And I've gone from 2 League videos a week to 3. So yeah, I mean, it's given me a lot more time to work on the channel, which I appreciate. Cool, I have a couple of friends who do that. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I went to school for creative writing, so it's not necessarily the most creative that I would prefer, but it is a way that I can use my writing skills for a job. Okay, we didn't hit a land here. We do have one with Lorien, so it's not necessarily the end of the world. I could keep a Spellstutter Sprite, which is pretty good against their mulligan. Murmuring Mystic's not what I need right now. I have a Brainstorm, so yeah, I think we can get a little greedy with this maybe. What do you do for a living, Ben? They're going to brainstorm, try to find another land, potentially. And if not, potentially brainstorm lock themselves. They do find an island and a Thought Scour, pretty nice for them. Get rid of 2 spells. I mean, that's just about the best they can do, I think, given their mulligan. I guess we're certainly hitting a land drop here. I think we just go for Aqua first, so we have black for the snuff out and things. Software engineer, work from home, so I'm listening to you while I work on some code. Also sell some cards on the side. I also sell some cards on the side, so I get that. Yeah, most of my positions have been work from home as well, which is always nice. I mean, I guess my first position when I moved to the area I'm at about 7 years ago was not work from home until COVID hit, and then it was. But since then, I've had mostly remote stuff, which is always fun. They brainstorm. I mean, they could just put down like a Terror or a Gurmag here. If it's a Gurmag, I'm kind of in a rough spot, to be honest. But if it's a Terror, I can snuff it out. They're finding land drops, too. So there could be a Terror right here. The good thing is, since they've been missing, or since they mulligan so low, if they do get a Terror here and I can stop it, they don't have a lot more to do beyond that. But looks like no Terror, which is very nice for us. Fairy Seer. So I could brainstorm and then Fairy Seer away those cards. But if I don't hit a land, it's kind of bad. So I think I'd rather Fairy Seer to try to see 5 cards to make sure I hit a land instead. I mean, those 2 aren't lands, so we're getting rid of those. I could still whiff with this brainstorm, but here's hoping that's not the case. I guess they just spell pierce me. Well, I'm liking their chances a lot more than just when I saw they mulligan to 4. It's possible I should just have held up our interaction, our counterspells. Probably would have been better. Kind of thought that I would find a land, though. Although I wasn't anticipating the Spell Pierce. I just have a deep analysis here. There's the Gurmag. Okay. With 1 card left in hand, we have a Gurmag, but we can't actually play it. Yeah. Things are actually not going great. We'll attack for 1, but we're going to jump with this other guy. I think we're going to foretell this Behold so we can dig for lands again next turn. Although I'm kind of expecting their last card's a counterspell. Might not be, but they spent 2 mana on their Gurmag and left up 2, as opposed to just spending 4 or delving all the way. So I kind of assume they have the counterspell there. And a Snacker, which I can't snuff out. You get an island. That's decent. Okay. I guess we're gonna just pass. Trade with the Snacker. Behold the Multiverse, and then we can get a Gurmag Angler down. Oh, they're not even gonna attack with that. Fair enough. I guess we're gonna take 5. If they pass, we're gonna draw 2 here. Can't really do anything against a counterspell, but then our turn is open to whatever we want to do, which would be nice. They do have the counterspell. We get a Swamp. So obviously I could Thorn, and that looks decent, but their Snacker, like, because I could block here, but if they have any removal, it's not great. Or I could just Gurmag, but that's only for 3. I can't even hold up Counterspell with the Gurmag. Or I could just hold up double Counterspell, but then I'm just losing to this Gurmag Angler. I mean, it's kind of bad. if they have removal, but I'm gonna play the Thorn. I think it's our best bet here. If they just have a counterspell, it's not the end of the world. At least we're not giving them the Monarch. Still not great, but next turn we can at least Gurmag and hold up a counterspell. Like for a Mold of 4, their draw has been very good. And the fact that this Snacker's attacking now makes me think that they probably drew like a Brainstorm or a Deep Analysis. So I think we'll just take it. But now we're at 8. Like, yikes. There's an island. Here's a Gurmag. Hopefully we can stabilize here. Block here, block here. If they try to bring back the Snacker, we can Spell Stutter or Counterspell. So we'll trade. And if it's a Deep Analysis, then I can counter it here, but I can't counter it next turn as well, unless I get another Counterspell. Another Snacker. That's also annoying, because if I countered that, then they could Brainstorm. I think we just let that through. Cast Down is good. Okay, so I can race them now, because I can cast down the Gurmag, and I can start swinging for 5. I could also cast down the Sneaky Snacker, just kind of hold this. But then if they do eventually get to draw and get these guys through, it's a lot worse. Like they might block here and then like Brainstorm, but then I get to Spell Stutter that. They do block, they do go for the Brainstorm, but we have the counterspell for it. I mean, this was their Mold of 4. They are doing a great job both drawing and playing pretty well, considering they top deck a Brainstorm. Okay, yep, great skill top decking that Brainstorm. If I had counterspell mana up for that, if we'd drawn lands earlier, it could have been okay. The Snuff Out's obviously just looking bad. I wish it was anything else. Plus they have a card that could do something maybe. They Thought Scour now. Couple spells. Pass. Spell Setter's not bad. So I could attack for 6. But then by blocking here, we can cut their clock to 4 turns instead of 1 turn or 2 turns. Plus, now that we have Spell Stutter and Counterspell, I think we're in an okay spot. Definitely going to trade one of these, and we're going to counter just about anything. We're definitely going to counter an Arms of Hadar. They are swinging still. I can't really take it. I could flash into Spell Stutter and block both. I think that's worse, because then if they just get another Brainstorm or something, they both come back, plus we don't get a Counterspell off our Spell Stutter. Ninja, well now I wish I had just cast the other Spell Stutter. I could bring back this, I get in for 2, but then this is too expensive to hold up Spell Stutter. Yeah, that's not great. Well, I guess we're just hitting for 5. We are winning this race by a turn. I guess we can deal them lethal next turn with Spell Stutter plus Ninja if they don't leave this back, which they might have to now. They do. All right, now do I Spell Stutter? Feels like probably. If they want to trade with this, well, maybe this is bad, because then if they have like the Brainstorm or something, they could still bring these back. Yeah, I think I was maybe a little too, Counterspell's fine, but a little too gung-ho on getting the Ninja down. I don't know if that was actually the right call. Another Ninja. Well, I'm going to hardcast one of those, I guess. If they have the Brainstorm right here, they can get these both back as blockers. If they don't, this is lethal next turn. They didn't have it, so they have to have a blocker or removal spell here. And we get there. All right, that was a crazy last game considering the fact that they mulliganed to 4. But really good game and set of matches. 3-0 at the moment in this league. 8-0 total in the stream. Feels pretty good. All right, round 4 here. We have the old Brainstorm Lock Yourself hand. We're going to get rid of that. This one's quite a bit better with 3 lands, a couple counter spells. I think we get rid of a counter spell. Augur could be a good blocker, could be pretty important. Could maybe find us some more interaction. If we're against a deck that we really need the Snuff Out, I would hate to ship it away. And I could just lead on a landscape here. I think that makes the most sense. I could sacrifice it if I want, or I could just cycle a Lorien with it. More blue. Delver of Secrets. Okay, so we're finally against mono blue terror, and so I think I'm going to play Augur, and I would like to snuff out Delver right now. I might be aggressive against a terror deck, but I think that might be right. So I think I'm going to sack this, so I have my blue and my black on turn 2. Yeah, we'll just do that. Play the Augur first in case we find a snuff out off of it. Well, we have a cast down, and we're going to show him a snuff out here for the Delver. If that flips, which it probably will, it's already going to deal us 3 damage. Might as well just take the 4 and not take any additional damage off of it. Gurmag's not bad. We're going to cycle a Lorien, get a counter spell. Well, rather have access to a counter spell here. Attack for 1, and we'll just pass. I could get out a fast Gurmag next turn. The early snuff out Lorien and Landscape helping with that. I'm just going to cycle Lorien again. They Brainstorm in response, dodging that counter spell. And I could just go for an Aquifer. I think I'd rather just get an island. This way I can leave up Cast Down plus Counterspell, or Augur plus Counterspell here. If I could play Angler plus hold up a Counterspell, I probably would, just to go pretty aggro here. But since I can't, I'm just going to hold it. I could counterspell back here. Then I'm tapped out, but I have a cast down, plus I have a Gurmag coming. Plus, if they don't put creatures on the field for a little while, the pressure is doubled. I think I kind of like that. Of course, our Augur is not doing anything. Hey, my cat playing with a little toy that has a bell on it, so that's probably going to mess with the audio. We have 2 Thorns of the Black Rose shipped to the bottom. They mental note in the upkeep because they had previously brainstormed. Deep Analysis Ponder. That's 6 spells. Ponder again. Looking for a Terror, it appears. There's a Terror. And they have Spell Pierce up or Dispel. Oh, but Snuff Out makes it so I can get around the Spell Pierce at the very least.
Girl, please stop.
Okay. Snuff Out's pretty good. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. Because if I cast down and they have a Spell Pierce, it's rough. If they have the Dispel, can't do anything about that. But if they don't, I can also get down a Gurmag here. Well, if they didn't have a Spell Pierce and didn't use it, right? Attack for 2, and I guess I could bluff like a Spell Pierce of my own, but I think I'd rather just leave 1 spell in the grave in case I get the other Gurmag. Now, who's the Turbo 5/5 deck? Envelop in their main deck. Interesting. Good to know about, although I don't think I have any sorceries in here. Deep Analysis, or I guess Lorien Revealed would be a sorcery. And Preordain. So a couple. Dimir Faeries. Well, that's pretty annoying. I guess that is the second Gurmag for this, but we actually can't play it, so that's got to go on the bottom. Definitely an annoying removal spell on a Gurmag. There's a Terror. Again, Spell Pierce. Pretty brutal. I might just prefer to play another Augur, I think. Behold the Multiverse could be good. And we have an army of 1/3s that don't get to attack. And as much as I was the beatdown, we're already at 12 because of our own Snuff Outs. Not to mention that they can, tap these down. Maybe they even have Artful Dodge, but tap them down with Sleep of the Dead, so we definitely got a block. There's a Serpent. There's a Serpent. Didn't I take this with an Augur? Why did I not foretell it on my turn? Because I'm a goob. Well, I guess we're going to cast down one of these Serpents. Probably get counterspelled. Probably should just do it on their upkeep. That's good, though. We're going to foretell here, and might as well just play an island. Sleep of the Dead is pretty nice. Sleep of the Dead is, I think, the best card in this deck. Like, it is incredible every single time. I'm surprised it took people... Oh, look. Speaking of, it's about to make it so I take 11 when I was going to previously take 0. So I'm probably just dead here. I guess if I could top deck my 4th Augur? No, I've already seen all 3 of them. Something to cast down. It's the Raven's Crime of Mono Blue. I mean, it is a 1-drop sorcery that casts again from your graveyard. Oh, look, there's our Gurmag. That doesn't do anything for us. Well, it does. It blocks 1 of these, but then we die to the other. Behold gets us cast down, and I guess if they have nothing, we can cast down and find a Fairy Seer. No, they can just tap the Fairy Seer. What am I saying? That's the thing. No matter how many blockers you have, they can always get you. All right, we're gonna cast this down, and then we're gonna die to the Terror. Yeah, Sleep of the Dead is very, very good. We should not have spoken of it. It willed it into their deck. Okay, we get relics. I like Okiba Gang here and extract. Same stuff as I guess against Dimir. Although this time we like that we get to keep in Snuff Outs. Behold the Multiverse, maybe just too expensive. Dispel's good. Spell Pierce is okay in counter wars and things, but it feels like often they don't cast anything till the very end step. And then it's a Thought Scour, and then the things that they're casting that are relevant are usually not when they have less than 2 mana, because they usually play Terrors at the end of their turn. A lot of Dimir decks today. Yes, I think this is just Mono Blue, but yeah, we've played against Mono Blue or Dimir Terror twice, and we've played against Mono Blue Terror once now. We played against High Tide. We played against Jeskai Ephemerate and Jeskai Spell Stutter stuff. So that's 6 blue decks. I can't remember what else. Walls and a couple other things. Yeah, tons of blue going on today. Augur Chump Blocks, which is decent. Gurmag is really bad against the removal. Otherwise, it's pretty good. Thorn is generally pretty decent here, I think. Mystic's good. Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think this one's mono blue because we saw a Delver at the beginning, but I get it. Yeah, I think we'll take out an Augur and I guess cut a cantrip. That might be heresy to cut cantrips because it fixes everything else, but I don't know. Everything else seems really good. This hand would be great with a cantrip. All right, it's not good actually. Well, I don't love this hand. However, it does have pretty decent turn 1, pretty decent turn 2, and then it has a Bajuka Bog. So I think we're going to keep this one. Get rid of our swamp there. Fairy Seer. We'll keep a Brainstorm. Get rid of any lands at this point for the foreseeable future. And they got a Ponder, so no Delver on turn 1. I guess us playing a blue deck just brings out all the other blue decks. And I think we just leave up our Counterspell in case they play a Delver or what have you. But yeah, not really expecting that. Okay, hit for 1, play our Aquifer. They don't do anything there, which is nice. Fairy Seer. I mean, I would love a Ninja because they have trouble dealing with that before we draw. Mental Note, 4 spells in the bin now. Augur and Cast Down. Well, I don't really want to get rid of a Cast Down, and I might as well keep the Augur because it'll just draw the other one. Maybe should have just taken that opportunity to Bajuka Bog for 4 spells. It feels like 4 is not really a lot, especially when they still have 7 cards in hand. They can refill it really quick. But if they go Thought Scour into 2 or 3 terrors here, it's going to be pretty bad. Although we have a counterspell for one of them. Alright, we're going to Augur, see if they want to fight over this. Which they do. I will also fight over this. They're probably happy to fill their graveyard. And then I'm going to Bajuka Bog them. So it's less good that they do so. So yeah, 5 cards in hand, 6 spells in grave. Feels a little better to get the bog off. And then we have a Cast Down coming. We have a Brainstorm. I mean, these Fairy Seers are going to do some serious damage, I think, ideally. Ponder into a Brainstorm and Thought Scour those away. There's a Sleep of the Dead. Yeah, the main thing I don't love about using the bog there is we don't get like a Sleep of the Dead, but we kind of had to do what we had to do. There's a Serpent. We're definitely going to just cast that down, but I'm going to Brainstorm to hopefully find like a Ninja here, and we don't. We do get locked here. I mean, Spell Stutter Sprite's not bad. I think we're putting that back because if they play another Terror, I'd like to have a counterspell for it, and we're certainly just going to cast this down. But yeah, our next 2 cards are not amazing. In fact, I might not counterspell a Terror because, I mean, it really depends, but if I hold it for next turn, and then we counterspell, and then we have the Spell Stutter Sprite that I can use as backup to counter a counterspell, it's pretty good. But we're also just going to lose this race now, and the chances they have a counterspell are really high. I think we let this go. If they cast another one, I'll counterspell it. Feels bad and wrong, potentially. Also, I feel like I should keep attacking. Part of me feels like I should keep attacking because I can keep the race up, but we're going to lose the race now. And if I leave these back, I get chump blocks, which I know my next card is an island, so I really need to survive. And every turn that I attack, with both of these, I'm allowing them to not Sleep of the Dead. Like, if they want to get through, they have to Sleep of the Dead right now, which they probably won't. They'll just eat our guys. I don't know. It's not my favorite thing to chump block this right now, but that's where we're at. I would love them to cast a Terror. I counterspell. They cast a counterspell. I Spell Stutter, and then nothing else. And that just resolves. Get 2 cards out of their hand. I get another 1/1 on board. That's the dream. Probably should have attacked with one of these Fairy Seers. The idea was that, I'd leave them both back so they can't Sleep with the Dead them, but they're just never going to do that. There's a Thought Scour. I guess we're going to just try to get some value off this. And then if they counterspell, then I counterspell. And then if they get a Terror through, then I got played. Also, if they just have a Spell Pierce, I kind of get played. But, looks like they're going to Sleep with the Dead here. Oh, use their mana, tap one of these down. Okay, fair enough. So I can't Ninja it. Sure. Well, we're going to pass. See if they want to Sleep with the Dead again. They don't. They might want to sleep that. I mean, if they want to keep this from getting ninja'd, they might sleep it again. Which, now that I only have 1 creature, is pretty reasonable. But their graveyard is limited. They just have a Lorien revealed. That's pretty bad. And they have another Sleep of the Dead from hand. Okay, to keep it tapped. Relic is a crazy good draw, especially when they just put their second sleep into the graveyard. That might have made them, like, that might have been a mess up from them. Now, we draw an island, so it's pretty rough afterwards. We could definitely still just die if we draw really poorly. But the fact that we got not 1, but both Sleeps of the Dead, I assume they're not playing more than 2, because most decks don't. We have a shot here. We need to draw well, maybe like a Lorien revealed, hoping they have no counterspell for it, and then something else. But they have a Serpent and a Demon Inferior on the Spell Stutter Sprite. I mean, Sprite doesn't do anything right here. I think we got to put it on the bottom. If our top deck is like a Lorien into a Spell Stutter, it's not bad, but like, if it's not, and it's just a blank, well, there is a Lorien. Then, we need something else. Here, if we get like a Cast Down and a Snuff Out, or no, can't kill this with a, Nope, well, those were not very good draws. Maybe if they have nothing, and we top deck like Cantrip for Mystic into Cantrip into removal, we'll have a shot. But if this just gets countered, I think we're probably just dead. There's a Delver too, and just an island. So I could cast both of these. They have to chump block here, and then there's no way we can come back from that, I don't think. So unfortunate that we lost there, but we beat Dimir Terror a couple times, so maybe this is the indication Blue Terror is the way to go. Still 3-1, not too bad. We're going to finish out the league here. That's the number 1 deck in Pauper. It is very good. It's definitely very often the number 1 played deck. Looks like, according to Goldfish, that it is right now 11%. Yeah, it's a very good deck. I will say every time I play it, I pick it up like once every 2 or 3 months, and then I often get like a trophy with it after very little practice, and it feels really good. I like it a lot because I just think that almost every time I play against it, it's just fun games. Like, even if I lose, those are pretty good fun games. And so I'm a big fan of it for that reason. But yeah, the fact that it kind of does poorly against removal and graveyard hate feels like it shouldn't be as good as it is, because those are both very prevalent. But yeah, it is just a solid deck. Kind of has an answer to everything in the format. Yeah, that's pretty true. Ooh, Bogles to finish out our league could be interesting. Okay. I mean, we have 2 counter spells here, which are going to be really good if we can find another blue mana here and a spell stutter sprite. We're going to keep both of those. Island first. Kind of has an answer to everything. Yeah, I mean, I think that's generally true, although it has a soft answer to everything, right? Because, like, yes, it counters anything for sure, but Dimir Faeries is not the best answer to a lot of things, because it'll just come back in a couple turns. Like, not very good against Chrysalis and the like. But yeah, and I mean, if it does Dimir Faeries their guy, and then you can mill it with a Thought Scour, kind of a cool combo. But yeah, I do think it's a very good deck for sure. Well, I could Augur, and we technically have a blocker for this, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold up Counterspell. I'm gonna hold back, because if they play a 1 or 2 drop, I can spell stutter sprite and then maybe double block for it. But if they just go with like an Ancestral Mask or Armadillo Cloak, I will certainly just full counterspell that. Or a Gnarlid as just a 2/2. I guess both of these can be recast. So I could counter this. We have another spell stutter sprite coming, but I could just let that go. It can't be blocked, so that's actually pretty bad. I think we'll counterspell that, because I could just spell stutter sprite here if they attack, double block, and then I could Bojuka Bog away the Sentinel's Eyes, Rancor goes back to hand, not a big deal. But if not an answer, at least a response. Certainly as a response to everything. You're definitely right about that. I think it's a great deck for sure. It certainly has some weaknesses, but yeah, it is very strong. Big fan. Okay, I'm gonna Bog here. It doesn't get the Sentinel's Eyes value that I want, but I do just, this allows me to cast double Spell Stutter or like Spell Stutter Augur next turn, which I want to have access to. Now, if they baited us with the Aura Gnarlid and now they play like an Ancestral Mask, kind of rough because I can't counter that, or an Armadillo Cloak. Yeah, so maybe made a mistake there, because the Aura Gnarlid I can target. I could have just killed it with a cast down if I find one, so I don't really know why I countered that. That was definitely a mistake. I was like, oh, I can't block it with anything. True, but if I find a removal spell, of which I have like 7 in the deck, I could be fine. And this one I cannot kill, and now I don't have a counter spell for this. So now I'm probably just dead because of my own misplay. I could Augur. We don't have an Extract in the main deck. Augur plus Spell Stutter technically keeps us alive for a turn. That doesn't seem very good. I don't really know if I have an answer at this point. Snuff Out doesn't do it. Yeah, I think I just played that terribly. No reason to counter the Aura Gnarlid. Snuff Out can kill the Gnarlid, and then we'd be fine after that. We do have a Nulls, an Extract a Confession. These are our best cards. Arms of Hadar can, if they have a small like 4/2 like that for a couple of turns, can maybe be okay too. We'll take out the Snuff Outs, leave in the cast downs maybe. Well, some of the cast downs for the Aura Gnarlids, so we got to leave something. Okiba Gang Shinobi, I feel like they deploy their hand a little too quickly for that to be very relevant. Although Dispel is like nothing, right? Doesn't do anything at all. So this is at least better than that. It feels like if we take out all the cast downs and then they have the Gnarlid, it's gonna be pretty bad. Although we have Extract for it still, like this still hits it. I don't know. Fangs feels like it's a little better at least. It could be a combat trick that they don't know about. It can also just, if we slap it on a Gurmag, it can help us race. I don't know. This one's good. We have Spell Stutter Sprite on turn 2. So we have a Ninja. I'll try not to throw this time, but I can't make any promises. Fairy Seer, just try to set up. Counterspells is our best friend, so as many counterspells as possible. We already have our lands, so I think it's pretty much just counterspells. We also already have a cantrip. I think we'll just ship both of those. And they have a Sprawl turn 1, which is kind of nice, because that means I can probably Spell Stutter the first creature, unless it's a Gnarlid. Mystic, we're obviously not going to Ninja here, because we don't want to die to a Bogle again. We're going to hold up the Sprite for that. Just get in for 1. Malevolent Rumble. Well, it's not the creature I want to counter, and I don't want to throw again, but it is a creature they could start putting stuff on. They might be willing to do that, seeing as they're going to assume we cited out all of our removal. We did cite out most of our removal. Plus, it lets us Ninja, the Spell Stutter. I don't know. I think it's okay. Could be more bait if they just go like land, Bogle. But if they have no other lands, then it's also pretty good. Brainstorm. Well, I think here we just Ninja, our Spell Stutter. It gives them a turn to maybe get a guy down, but it starts drawing. It buys back our spell. And we top deck pretty much the perfect card. It's exactly what I was hoping for. So we'll obviously play an island so we can hold that up. So if they do get a Bogle, at least I can annul whatever they put on it. They have Utopia Sprawl. I could counter this. They put the first one on green, so they don't actually have access to white. And white is a lot of their scariest spells. I think we're going to let it go, but I don't hate doing that, honestly. Like, white is their Ethereal Armor, and it's their Trample from, well, not Rancor, obviously, but Armadillo Cloak. They do just have a Gnarlid. I think we brainstorm here. I mean, we can hold up both of these to counter whatever they try to put on it, so I'm not super scared of it, but if we can find a cast down, that's pretty good. Can't cast it yet. Maybe I should have kept the Snuff Outs in, but I was worried about the life total. So we're going to put back these, since I can't play the Mystic anyway, and then hold up a Null and Spell Stutter Sprite. I will say I'm very surprised this has started showing up in Bogles, but definitely love to see it. This is from Rise of the Eldrazi, one of my favorite sets, because it's one of the first ones that I started playing with, and of course you also get Mortician Beetle and Bloodthorn Vampire and Black Sack from Rise of the Eldrazi, so a lot of good cards from that set. Always like to see more. Alright, what do they got here? Trying to figure out how they want to tap for something. Malevolent Rumble. I think the chances they play 2 green cards that I really need to counter with the Annul are unlikely. Like, if they Ancestral Mask, I can just counter it. If they double Rancor, I get one of them. I think we'll counter the Rumble. And Abundant Growth, I'm not going to counter. And another Abundant Growth, I'm not going to counter. Alright, well, we get to untap and cast this down. I bet they're going to be... Oh, they're going to attack. I mean, that's fair. They're an aggro deck, but that means I get to draw a card with my Ninja. I guess I don't even need to cast this, like, unless I think they're going to have a counter spell or hexproof, which seems like a Vines of Astwood is what I'm trying to say. That seems like a weird card to include in your Bogles deck, but maybe with this it makes sense. But it feels like I should almost just wait until they try to put something on it and get extra value. I can't block with any of these guys, so I might as well just swing. And Lorien Revealed. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to pass and try to... This might be greedy, and we'll see if we get wrecked by it, but I think if they try to cast stuff on this, unless it's a Hyena Umbra, we just let it all happen and then we cast it down afterwards. They have excuse me, another Sprawl. A lot of mana auras, but they do grow the Gnarlid, so not terrible. Ethereal Armor. I mean, maybe I should cast this down in response in case they do have the Vines of Astwood, and then I can at least annul this. Feels like if this dies, I probably just win. So I think we will do that, because if they have the response, I would very much like to counter this. Alright, that worked. Because even if they have another Bogle, they only have one other card, and now we just get to swing for 4, play a Mystic, attack with a bunch. Probably can kill him next turn. So we only need to add 3 power. Maybe I should just hold Counterspell to be a little more conservative, but let's not be conservative. Arms of Hadar. I don't know if I really need that, but I will keep the island so I can at least counter and use a null. Because I guess if they get down a guy and then give it Ethereal Armor and like Armadillo Cloak for life gain, that could keep them alive. All right. We win the game. Oh, and that was a 1 of cast down. I thought we had 2, but glad we got that. Would I prefer Snuff Out? It would have been better there because we wouldn't have taken 4, but then I probably would have taken 4 anyway. Alright, Fangs actually doesn't seem that great, and Cast Down is good if they go all in on a Gnarlid, so let's bring that in, I guess. For the last game of the league, well, this one's pretty good. We have Extract to Confession. Otherwise, it's okay, because we have tap lands and things like that. We could theoretically get killed really quickly with the turn 1 Bogle, but I think we keep the Extract hand with 2 lands pretty much every time, even if it is slow. Another Aquifer. Ideally, they won't play any additional creatures. They'll go all in on this and we can extract. I guess if they play another creature, I'm going to have to collect evidence, which could be a problem if I cannot get enough cards in our graveyard. And they do Rumble, which means that's another creature for them. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna play creatures and probably just jump as quickly as possible so I can get the extract going. They take the Forest, get in for 1. Oh, I guess just cycling a Lorien will already get us mostly there. I was blanking on that and I was like, oh, I have a bunch of 1s and 2s I need to get in the grave. So actually, Lorien's going to solve our problem pretty easily, which means I could just Fairy Seer, Landscape, and then next turn I could cycle the Lorien, have 2 mana, extract. Okay, yeah, if the Fairy Seer dies. So let's just start with that. We're looking for counterspells mostly. We already have 4 islands here, and so I don't really need that. I don't really need Augur. I think we just get rid of both of those. Play this and pass. So the problem is going to be if they suit up the Bogle, like if they don't do a ton here, you know, they make it like a 4-2 and then the next turn they make it like enormous and I don't have the time to really extract a confession. I don't know. I could do it next turn probably, assuming this Fairy Seer dies in combat, but if it's only like a 4-2 and then suddenly they make it a 20-20, then maybe I don't extract there and then I die to it. I don't know. we'll see how it plays out. They have a growth of the abundant variety. Now they have an Armadillo Cloak if they sack the spawn. Okay. That solves our extract problem. So I could block here, but I actually think I just want to pass. It's only 3 damage. Next turn, I can maybe Spell Stutter to counter a 2-drop. If they do get like an Ancestral Mask, it's not going to add that much, and then I can extract. I think we're going to get greedy and wait one more turn. And yeah, so I could hold up Spell Stutter for 2. If they cast a 3-drop, it's not great, but they don't know I could have a counter spell. Yeah, I think we just pass here. 1 damage is pretty irrelevant. Plus, in case I want to like block here for the Extract Confession, if they do get another creature, I think I'll just leave it back. Slippery Bogle. I might want to counter for the Extract, but we can still make this bigger, or make sure they sacrifice the bigger one. But then they could go in on this one. I think we'll counter that. Like if these are their only 2 creatures and we can counter this one and then kill this one with the Extract, we're at a pretty good spot. And if they just tap out now to put like another Cloak or a Mask or something on it, then I'm pretty good killing it then. There's a Ledgewalker, okay, fair enough, and a Rancor. Okay, so Rancor is going to move over here, but I think that's good enough that I can block here and then extract on this guy. I mean, they have 1 card left, which could be another Cloak, could be an Ancestral Mask, it could be a lot of scary things, but I'm doing my best, which means I need to cycle this Lorien here. I guess I could preordain first to maybe find, like, see if I get an Arms of Hadar, see if I get like something else relevant. Counterspell would be nice. Brainstorm, not really what I need. There's the Arms of Hadar. Yeah, so I think, I mean, if they have a way to grow that, like, part of me wants to wait until next turn, Arms of Hadar to kill this, and then extract this, but I could be dead by then. So I think I will just take the safer play. Problem is, if I do this, make them sack the Bogle, they can Rancor into this. If they have any way to buff this toughness by more than 1, Arms of Hadar on it next turn isn't going to work. Ideally, they just won't, and then I can Arms it, and we'll be fine, but there's no guarantee there. We're not going to attack in case they don't have a way to buff toughness. They also probably won't attack at all. If they do, we get double screwed, but what are you going to do? There's another Malevolent Rumble. Well, we have to dodge that pretty well, and we do. Just a couple more Bogles is totally fine. If they want to put those down, we can Arms them all away. That's great. Needed to dodge any aura that would buff toughness. Buffness, you might call it. Slippery Bogle they go for. So I would love for them to just play a Bogle, play a Rancor. They probably won't do that. They have an armor. Yeah, it's annoying. That does buff toughness by 2 and 3 with the Rancor. Yep, well, their last card was armor, and we don't have another way to make them sacrifice. We don't have a way to bounce this. Yeah, I think we're just going to die now, fortunately. We don't have the best Bogles matchup. I think an extra extract in the board could be good for this one. We found the 1, but they drew a lot of creatures, and I think I used it at the right time, but I guess I could have been off a little bit. Arms doesn't do anything. I guess we'll preordain. Fairy Seer, yeah, I mean, maybe if I also just drew any counterspells earlier, more counterspells, so that I could have countered the Ledgewalker or something. Fairy Seer doesn't do anything. It blocks 1, cast down, it's got hexproof. Don't really know what I'm looking for. Pretty sure Extract was our only out. Alright, they got us. I mean, we're not technically dead this turn, but then I don't know what I do next turn. There's no way I'm going to be able to like double Arms if it are them or anything, so they got us, unfortunately. But hey, just like the stream the other day, we went 5-0 into a 3-2. Not too bad at all. I'm pretty happy with those results. Just one quick look at the deck. Here it is. I think it's pretty solid. We changes from my last version of the deck was 2 Gurmag Anglers, which felt pretty good. They came up quite a bit, and obviously always felt great. Behold the Multiverse was pretty decent. I can't say I was like, oh, blown away by it, or that it wasn't bad either. I'm pretty happy with that. 1 of Spell Pierce and 1 Dispel. Spell Pierce felt like it didn't come up quite as much as I would have liked. Dispel was really good, though. Good run. Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty happy with it. Sideboard, I'm pretty happy that I had the Annuls in there. They weren't in the original list, but they were good against Grixis Affinity, as well as obviously Bogles. And didn't feel like I was lacking much else, although another Extract for Bogles, if that's a deck that you run up to a lot. Sneaky Snackers for this list. I think Snacker is great in a lot of decks. I think if you want to go Snacker, you should do more of the like Dimir control list that kind of runs around that Barf also has a list for. The reason I don't like it in this list is you do have a decent amount of ways to draw 3, right? We have our Brainstorms, we have our Loriens. Monarch plus, a Preordain helps get there or whatnot, but a Ninja plus Monarch or whatever. But we don't have any way to put it in the graveyard ourselves. And it's a fine card to cast, but it's nothing exceptional. It's much better if you can discard it to, in that deck, Modern Age or Focus the Mind, or I'm blanking on some of the others. But in our deck, we'd have to hard cast it pretty much because there's no way we could discard it. And then, it's just not that exciting of a turn 2 play. You're trying to cheat in Snacker. I haven't seen a deck where hardcasting Snacker is the best way to use it. It's nice that you can do that's an option, but that's not really what you want to build around. So, but yeah, like those more modern control decks, not modern the format, contemporary control decks with Dimir, which I actually have right here. This type of a list, come on, Dimir control deck is, I think, pretty solid. You got your Snackers, your Modern Ages to discard them, and some Focus the Minds to discard them, and I guess that's about it. Otherwise, it's pretty similar. Of course, you drop your Ninjas, and you don't have Fairy Seers, things like that. So this, I think, is a solid list too, but I feel like one of the things I like about Dimir Faeries, the traditional one, is that it can kind of be an not aggro deck, but it can pivot to be a little bit more aggressive, like we saw in a couple of those matches. We can get down a turn 1 Fairy Seer into a turn 2 Ninja, and if they can't kill that Ninja and you can just protect it, that could just win you the game. We can almost play a mono blue Fairies strategy there with some better removal and stuff. Whereas with Dimir control, there's really no way to pivot. Like, yeah, you can get down a stack for 2 every turn, maybe get a Modern Age 2 turns later, right? This is a 2-drop that doesn't come online for attacking until turn 5. Yeah, because it's turn 2 you play it, turn 3, turn 4 it flips, turn 5 it's attacking. So like, you just can't be anywhere near as aggressive with this list, which I like that Fairies kind of has that ability to steal the early game if your opponent stumbles. But yeah, and then sideboard, I liked the Annuls. I always like Okiba Gang Shinobi. Arms is good. Crypt Incursion didn't come up because we mostly saw Terror decks, which are graveyard oriented, but not creature graveyard oriented, obviously. And I think there were 6 Hydroblast effects originally. We didn't go up against really any red, so maybe that would be better in certain metas, but right now it didn't feel like it was super necessary for me. In any case, I'm gonna hop off now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.